Hey kids, this is a reminder about our upcoming series, Fanvember. Yes, for the first time we are opening ourselves up to requests, and all episodes in November will be listener choices. If you would like to hear us discuss a particular movie, or feel that a certain piece of media needs representation on the Cinemoddities restaurant menu, reach out to us. We'd love to hear it at cinemoddities@gmail.com or at Cinemoddities on Twitter.
All right, are you ready?
Are you prepared to be scared?
I'm prepped.
We're about to put the monster in Monstober.
And it's gonna get spooky.
Now!
The following film contains some scenes that may be frightening for some viewers. Watch out for boos and bangs and oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming moments. Because they're in there. Parental guidance is recommended.
Why did you have this idea to begin with?
Yep, I feel the same way. It's just like, come on, why did you think this was in any way, shape, or form good thing to do? Maybe not a good thing, maybe something he felt he should do. And then why even explain it in the commentary? Why? This is something you keep to yourself.
Rob, I'm really tempted to go to the IMDb trivia page and include all of this. Cinemoddities, late night movies with Rob and Zack. This is a podcast about cinematic oddities where we discuss any media that is too bizarre, abnormal, or off-kilter for contemporary audiences. Occasionally, these projects gel. Most times they crash hard into the realm of obscurity. Join us as we delve into the cult classic swamp. I'm Zack.
And I'm Rob. And this week on Cinemoddities, we actually have two firsts. The first that we'll discuss is that today we're actually having our very own TED Talk. The second first is that, if you could not tell by the title of the episode, we are discussing a Ted Bundy biopic, and since serial killing is nothing to laugh at, this will be quite the somber episode. And since it is our first episode of Monstober, I will now throw it over to you, Zack.
Oh God, no! Fuck you, bitch! Ah!
Does this feel like love? I want to ask our fans right now, does this feel like love? We are starting Monstober with a serial killer movie that you better believe I was lying about. We're going to laugh our asses off. So if you're going to be offended, just be offended right now. Start at the max. It's never going to go down. I'm pumped this Monstober. Are you excited, Zack? I know. Why even ask that question? Somebody probably tweeted at us a month ago and said that you were excited for Monstober.
Yes, I am excited, folks. And much like Rob, I have to have a genuine disclaimer to this. Because, again, in today's day and age, you can't make there's no such thing as humor anymore. Humor is dead, unfortunately. But especially when it comes to something like Ted Bundy. But I want to kind of put us in our own kind of I don't want to say bubble, because if you haven't seen this movie, and it's on YouTube for free.
Ooh, okay.
Unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, somebody put it on the whole thing on YouTube. Type in Ted Bundy 2002, it will come up. Because if you watch this movie, first, you'd understand where we're coming from mocking it. And two, anything that Rob and I say during this discussion, we are not referring to the actual crimes of Ted Bundy himself. We are referring to the character of this film, who I'm going to refer to numerous times as Bugs Bunny Ted Bundy.
Okay, I was actually thinking of something along the same lines. I called him a few times in my notes the Mask version of Ted Bundy.
Very similar.
Somebody stop me, Yeah, exactly. Cartoonish, Looney Tune, absolutely. So
yes.
I'm right there with you. And I actually want to jump right off of that same thing. This is definitely something that hit me hard when I rewatched this movie for this recording to kind of break form a little bit, Zack. One of the reasons why I think this is a cinemoddity is because for pretty much 90% of the movie, I'm just in watching goofy nonsense, weird cinematography, weird editing, weird sounds, weird performances that all gels in a way that really makes us laugh. And then you get to the end and you're kind of like, oh, right, this happened to some extent. And that's kind of what I think Zach's saying. We're coming from this, because this movie's goofy. There's no way to take this movie not goofily. I think we'll get into that discussion. But it reminds you at the end that this all happened, and it kind of gave me a weird feeling like where I thought I was watching an episode of Law and Order's VU for the first 90% of it. It's just what I'm used to seeing on TV. And then when you get that reality in there, it's like, oh, kind of, that's a downer. But we're going to focus on everything else. And so, yes, it's terrible that Ted Bundy was such a killer, but we're talking more about the movie rather than the real events.
I would say we're talking exclusively about the movie. Like, there's gonna be I know a little bit about Ted Bundy as a serial killer. As I've joked for years, he's my quote unquote favorite serial killer. Like, as odd as that is to sound, because it's just he's the most interesting of all of them. Like your Jeffrey Dahmers, your John Wayne Gacy's. I always
Loch Ness monsters.
Jack the Ripper. Was he a prosperous London surgeon? Perhaps a member of British royalty? Well, our bullshit team has unearthed spectacular new evidence which suggests that Jack the Ripper was, in fact, the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeti, Sasquatch, it's all the same thing. But no, I've always found him the most interesting. This is how I actually getting into the context of this, because like Rob said, there's a lot to delve into here. This is going much like I've said in the pre-show. This is a conversation for the ages.
I think I have more notes on this than I do for any other single movie we've watched. I get a lot of notes when we watch series or multiple episodes of things, but this was just one movie, and man, I wrote 2+ pages.
Oh yeah, there's not enough notes to take for this movie in general. This is just, it's insanity, and especially the ending is I forgot the ending. But we'll get to that in due time, because the context of this, going back to my thing about why Ted Bundy is my favorite serial killer, because Rob's context, I think, is pretty much my context in that, like I said, Ted Bundy was always my favorite serial killer. Because anytime, this was back, I have to say, in the late 2000s, your 2008, 9, 10-ish, I would always, if there was back when there used to be the biography channel, anytime they had something about, Ted Bundy, Ed Gein, I'd always watch it because, they were based on, or movie characters are based on them. Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs is based partly on Ed Gein and Ted Bundy. And especially, again, Ed Gein was, the basis for Norman Bates, Leatherface, Buffalo Bill. So anytime, any of these, real-life people would come up, on a TV program, and this is before, true crime exploded as a thing. This is before, when you wanted true crime, you had to watch, what was it, True TV and, Forensic Files. That was kind of your only, or the most noteworthy form of true crime for people to watch. Now
that was a crazy time. Now aren't there prank shows and hidden camera shows on True TV these days?
I don't even think True TV is True TV. It's HLN now.
Oh,
whatever the hell that means. I still don't know what that means. But no, it's when you would see something like the Ed Gein biography on the biography channel at 9 o'clock on a Thursday night, you'd be oh, this seems interesting. I don't know a lot about this. So with Ted Bundy, that happened a couple times, and you pretty much had those sort of TV specials, and you had the Wikipedia page, and you probably had a lot of books, but a lot of the books are dry and very medicinal in their analysis of Ted Bundy. Mm-hmm. So this had to be, I can't even tell you the specific the first time I ever watched this. All I remember is that I'm pretty sure this happened in the wake of Eraserhead. This was I want to say either May, June, July of 2010. So it was the very end of high school, or high school was over at this point. And I remember I was going through my cable box, and there was a thing for Ted Bundy on Showtime, or one of the Showtime channels, because I subscribed to Showtime for Dexter. And I recorded it, because I think it was on at 4 a.m. And I'm okay, I'm not staying up until 4 a.m. So I'll tape it and watch it. So I did just that, and I'm watching it sometime in 2010, and I'm oh my God, this is hysterical. Like, I'm watching this and I'm being like, how is this so funny? Because at this time, like, we did have Eraserhead, like, after last season was around now for a couple of months. And so it was this weird sort of thing being like, is this, I mean, to me, just myself, I'm like, is this funny or am I just a psychopath? And so,
Yep, I think that's exactly what I was saying, where it's kind of like, you know, we went into this movie thinking it was going to be hysterical, but you get those twinges of reality where you're like, wait a minute, I should not be rooting for Ted Bundy. But why do they make his, like, relationship so terrible?
That's the hard thing with this movie, is that this is, and I want to kind of frame this conversation just right, because this is something that we don't really, like, when it comes to Cinemoddities and Rob and I's friendship and how, like, what led us down this road of Cinemoddities, the Ted Bundy movie doesn't get a lot of credit because it did come in that wake of things like Eraserhead and After Last Season, and like things like the summer of 2010, where you had MacGruber, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, where afterwards we threw dry ice into a bucket in my driveway for a couple hours. Like, it got caught up in that. And plus, at that point, too, like, it was the end of high school, the beginning of college, things got lost in there. Because, like, I can't remember ever showing this to you. Like, I know you watched this in that summer of 2010, because my main memories of this were with Sal. And if anybody remembers Sal from all the previous conversations, Sal and I are the one, like, Sal glommed onto this as much as I did, not Rob. Because I remember how I got my copy of this, because what I did was I recorded it off of TV, like I said, and then I burned it to a DVD because I didn't know what the hell it was. It was just called Ted Bundy. It's like, what the hell? It's just called that. It's kind of like Cher. It's like there's hundreds of projects named Ted Bundy, until eventually, like, I want to say it was really early in college. I think like the first couple of weeks, I finally found it on Amazon. I ordered it. Had it shipped to, like, I think it's the first thing I ever, like, ordered shipped to, like, my dorm room in college. And I remember, like, Sal and I watched it and we were just like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Like, I think at that point really, like, set in, like, okay, this is a comedy. This is a comedy with some really, like, as weird as it may sound, I know it's an oxymoron, like, surrealist realism.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad way to put it.
And Sal glommed onto it so much that he found the actual song from the rape murder montage. Like, Sal actually, because I know at one point Sal and I just recorded the audio. We would just loop it all the time to the point where people, like our roommates, got mad at us because it's like, enough of this Bada Baba song, like, enough. And during that, you would hear the "fuck you, bitch," like, you would just hear that, and like, and plus after a while, like, you play that, like, in freshman year, people start getting an opinion of you. Like, if people keep hearing that, people are like, okay, I have to avoid these people. And so Sal eventually found it. And this is before, like, the days of Shazam and other, like, audio, like, finding programs. Like, he just went through a bunch of, like, just, oh God, like, what's it called? Copyrighted, like, production music, and he eventually found it. And I wish I knew what the original file is called, because on my computer the file is labeled as the Ted Bundy song.
Yep, I think when you sent it to me, however many years ago, that's exactly what it's called, and I still have it as such.
Yeah, unfortunately, we'll never know the real name of the Ted Bundy song. If it does have an alternate name, it does not deserve that title. It should be called like, remember, sort of like production music catalog, it should be called the Ted Bundy song. But yeah, that's pretty much it, though, because God, summer, fall of 2010, it was there, and I don't want to say it dropped off the face of the earth, because, like, I always remembered it. But, like, it never got any sort of, like, the attention it deserved because Eraserhead. Like Eraserhead was always the quintessential weird movie of that time period. And again, how can anything ever live up to Eraserhead? Eraserhead's the proverbial chasing the dragon of Cinemoddities. We're always looking for that next high that's just unattainable. But yeah, it really, like, I still have the DVD, and not that I forgot it though, but in every Monstober season, I was looking for something, and I forget how you even brought up. You're like, Zack, Ted Bundy, and I'm like, aha! And as I was sending it to Rob, I looked through some of the clips of it, and I'm like, God damn it, this is it. This is a hole in one when it comes to a Monstober film.
Right on. Yeah, so for some reason, I don't remember a lot about this movie. It stuck with me for forever, but the two kind of memories that I would connect this with would be, one was, I remember, I don't think I saw this whole thing either. For some reason, Zach, I have a memory of watching the scene where Ted Bundy like has the two bikini women in this random shed in the woods, and he throws one of them in and the other one screams, and he screams back at her to mock her. I have a memory of watching that scene with you in your room, like at your place. And so I remember that. I remember looking for this movie in my undergrad when I was collecting movies and TV shows and not being able to find it, being able to find like everything else called Ted Bundy. Because just like Zach said, there's so many things about Ted Bundy that are just called Ted Bundy or have Ted Bundy in the title. And then I think when we started doing this podcast, you sent me that song, and then I just kind of put it on the back burner. And then I think when we got to Monstober discussions and we were talking about slashers and Halloween, I was like, oh, Ted Bundy, he killed people. Remember that movie? So yeah, I don't have a good recollection of my history with it, but I'm glad that scene and others, like especially the lipstick on the decapitated head scene, that
we'll get to that.
It all kind of, came back to me for this viewing, and it was a grand old time.
Yeah, because it should be noted too, part of Cinemoddities like history was that the original like intro song I pitched to Rob was the Ted Bundy song.
Oh, okay.
That's why, yeah. I'm like, Rob, I think that was like one of the first like Facebook messages you got about this. It was like, oh, Rob, we can use this as our theme song. And you're like, Zach, I love the Ted Bundy song, but you know what? It's not going to work. But that's kind of like, it's always been there. It's one of those weird things that like, it's always hovered around, but it just got kind of like overshadowed by the quote unquote sexier films like Eraserhead after last season. They're like genuinely inexplicable.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is like, oh, it's more, it's mysterious in that, like, how much of this was serious and how much of it is, like, tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, and I think that's something you'll have to maybe shed some light on for me, since you've seen the director's commentary.
If only that gave me any answers. Definitive answers. It gives me some answers, but not all of them.
Opens more doors and closes them?
Oh, definitely. Oh, this is, folks, buckle in, because you're going to hear us talk about this. And this feels like another, like, even though I don't think we ever talked about it on Cinemoddities, is that there's a Knights of Vader episode where we talked about Meet Joe Black. I don't think we ever highlighted it on here. It's like, at this point, it's like 6 months old.
Yeah, I don't know.
Go look up the Knights of Vader episode called, like, May the 4th, 2019.
And we get some good pictures in your head, man.
And we did an entire episode about Meet Joe Black. And we both went into it blind, and we kind of like didn't know what to make of it. We really didn't. Like, we're kind of like, how does this exist? Why is nobody talking about this as much as they should?
I still don't know what to make of it, and I've seen Giggly.
But I have to say, this feels like the same realm as Meet Joe Black, where it's like, how is this not like one of those films? I know we've talked about it a lot on Cinemoddities. Like, how does something become viral? And a lot of it comes down to like memeability.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, you could make a billion memes from this.
Oh yeah, I think that another thing I've always said about whenever we discuss how something, why hasn't this become viral? It's that it takes, the right outlet for it. Like, you need one of those people who's, say, working, the programming on Adult Swim to just say, oh, we got this, let's go for it and latch onto it. I think maybe this should be the thing where we could pull some really good, like, reaction images, some reaction GIFs from this and start to spread them around the internet. And I think that, we could make some waves. As long as we took out the really gory stuff, I'm thinking of the crowbar to the head in the car. maybe with the subtitle of that, holy shit, look at that. I think there's some good ones in here. So I'm with you, Zach.
Rob, the rape montage is non-negotiable. That goes in all one. That's all. That's like one long, 60-second GIF. That's non-negotiable. That was in the Cinemoddities contract from 2018.
You want to just go ahead and make it a WebM and have audio and everything?
Yes. Yes.
Just pure copyright infringement on this movie and see who comes out of the woodworks and we interview him? Rob,
no one's going to come and defend this movie.
I don't know if anybody will come and defend it, but maybe someone will pop up that we can interview,
Maybe. Folks, if you know Matthew Bright, we have a lot of questions for him. Please let him know that Cinemoddities would die at the chance to talk to him about the insanity that is Ted Bundy.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, Rob, where do we... Okay, there's two... Okay,
I was going to ask you that.
Well, this is the thing, though, is this could be... we could literally break down every single scene of this movie because something bizarre happens in practically every moment.
Yeah, because I think my first note about the movie is that the movie comes out of the gate fast.
Oh, yeah.
Very fast.
Well, I guess... that's the problem, though. Is this could eventually turn into a cat in the hat where it's Rob, if we don't talk about every single moment, we're depriving the audience of this gem. But unfortunately, that would be a 7-hour-long discussion. Even though I feel it's just in this case, it would be because I want to know that everything else I do for Cinemoddities, I looked into what other people were saying about this movie. There is not a single podcast about this movie.
Oh, yes. Here we go. Finally, it's our time.
Finally, much like Real Scary Stories, we're laying claim to this.
Oh, okay.
We're the first ones to the party in 17 years. And then the thing too is, I guess it's maybe another way to frame this, to kind of maybe shed some light on what public opinion is of this movie. Is I looked on IMDb for some reviews, and okay, before I get into that, Rob, would you agree with me in saying that this is a comedy for all intents and purposes?
Oh, yes. I don't think this is... We're not saying that this is so bad it's good. We're not saying that this is, something that's horrible and we just laugh at that because, I'm always talking about Law and Order SVU, just watching all that and you have to, wash your eyes out after you hear Mariska Hargitay scream about rape. This is through and through a comedy. I don't think it can be seen any other way until maybe some of the very ending scenes when the tone intentionally gets more somber.
Oh, yeah. Because with that being said, I looked at
music. Well, we should mention the music. It sets the tone throughout the first 75% of the movie as quite jovial.
Oh, yeah. Most of the things, and just again, folks, there's the rape murder montage, which I think it's fair to say, Rob, you and I have seen quite a few movies. I've never seen a rape and murder montage first. I've never seen that to begin with. And then, two, I've never seen a rape and murder montage set to the most jovial, uplifting music ever.
Accompanied with the Indiana Jones-esque map of blood splatter following his path of people he's killed. If we haven't played the music yet, we'll play it again, because you only need a little clip to get the sense of it. This is not an edit. This is not Cinemoddities magic. This is legitimately in this movie. It's insane.
It's the Citizen Kane of just what the hell type of it's a WTF moment. That's really, and even though I think it's the Citizen Kane of that sort of thing, it's just okay. I gotta break this down. So
I have to say, I'm thinking of the only time I've ever seen this before would be in a comedy movie. Just to reinforce the point we're making, I'm thinking of a Naked Gun montage. Or, montages in comedy sports movies where the person's training or getting better, but all this wacky stuff going on, people are falling down elevator shafts. That's how this Ted Bundy murder montage comes off. And that can't It's insane. It's blowing my mind, Zach, even thinking about it.
It is, because like as you even were talking about it, like thinking about it like in a comedic lens, and I'm like, there's only like a handful of people, like as of now, I can't talk about when this movie was made, like in the early 2000s, because I would imagine this probably falls under I don't know exactly when production commenced on this. It was released in 2002. I don't know if this was filmed before 9/11. As we all know from the 2000s commercial episode, I'm fascinated by like media that was made right before 9/11.
It was a turning point.
Yes. But the thing though is like looking at under today's lens, and obviously I'm not looking at it, I don't mean like in a like politically correct way, but like the only people that could have made this like now or even then would be like a Tim and Eric or like a Tom Green.
Yeah.
And even them, I think the idea of having a rape murder montage sequence, never mind having it maybe even attached to like a fictional character, being it like, I don't know, like some made up character. Even then, I would imagine they'd be like, I don't know if we can get away with this. Like making a rape murder montage like into like a jovial thing. Like even they, I think it'd be like, that's too, not that it's too far, but like, where's like the haha in this? And then you look at it too under the lens of like, oh, we're tying this to a real person that committed these atrocities.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And it's like, there's no way you can make this funny. Like there's almost like a doing the impossible with this, where you take the concept of Ted Bundy's rape and murder spree and making it funny. Like on paper, that seems impossible.
It has to do with we're kind of, it's built up perfectly, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because you could very easily, and I'm sure it exists, make a Ted Bundy biopic where it starts with him killing somebody. It sets the mood, and it's very, very dark. This, almost eases us into the weirdness and the comedy, and by the point we get to that montage and that killing scene, we're ready to roll with it. And, it kind of like, that's another reason it makes me think that it's created to be a comedy. Because it doesn't just say, hey, this is funny, isn't it? Which would be strange for a serial killer movie. It makes our character, like you said, out to be a Looney Tune almost.
Yeah, because, okay, we're going to have to break this down, maybe it's like scene by scene as best, like as briefly as possible, because there's just too much going on here. Because how the film begins, and Ted Bundy gets out of bed. He wakes up. We get like a shot of him with the camera like slightly above him. He's in front of like 3 mirrors, and we'll insert the clip here. But he's like, "Hi, I'm Ted. Hi, I'm Ted. Ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ooh, ooh." And he's making all these weird faces and like goofy noises.
Hi there. Hi there. My name's Ted. Nice to meet you. Hi there. My name's Ted. Nice to meet you. Hi there. My name's Ted. Nice to meet you.
And it's like, oh, I get it. You're trying to like, oh, he's a sociopath. Watch out. But it's done very comedically, where it's like, oh, this is silly.
Yep.
Like, this is very goofy, but like, it's still kind of like walking the line of like, okay, this is kind of disturbing because like the lighting is very brown and muted. And it's like, oh, it's Ted Bundy. This is our first introduction to him. He's crazy. And it's like, okay, walking the line.
It's going to be the opening scene of Joker. Joaquin Phoenix is going to get out of bed and make faces in the mirror to himself.
Wouldn't that be great? Like Joaquin Phoenix is being like interviewed. And it's like, oh, what was your inspiration? It's like, I watched this movie called Ted Bundy that came out in the early 2000s.
Well.
Oh man, folks. All those like news headlines from like the woke like movie bloggers being like, this movie's going to sit there like incite white men to violence. You can just take that and put down the Ted Bundy movie. Just take all those headlines and just apply them to this. But like right after that sequence, we have a Ted Bundy making his faces. We cut to, oh God, I'm gonna goddamn do it, Rob. We see him driving around in Ted Bundy's trademark yellow Volkswagen Bug. And we see like, and it's very, very surreal. He's driving around and he sees all these like gorgeous women. And that's one thing I do want to point out. This felt like the same, the person who casted all the women in this felt like the person who was the casting director on Seinfeld. Every woman in this movie is gorgeous to some level.
Okay.
There is not one. I know Rob is very particular with women, but like in a general objective stance when it comes to women, I don't think there's one like below 7 in this movie.
Yeah, well, at least in this scene I referred to, my note was he's driving and ogling hot hippie women while drinking from a paper bag. So yeah, I'm with you. There's hot hippie women.
But while this is happening, though, and I do want to point out, because I can't go back and like do all this, is that I watched this movie once, and I went back and rewatched it with the director's commentary. We'll get later on to why I had to stop watching the director's commentary. But while this was going on, I took notes of what the director was saying. And I think that's the director being one of the biggest indicators as to what actually this film is about. Mm-hmm. Because at this point in the film, I'm trying to write down kind of what the director is saying. And at numerous times in this, even in the very beginning, when Ted Bundy's doing his facial exercises, he says, quote, "We didn't put anything in this that wasn't written about him." At numerous times in this movie, or in the commentary, the director says, "We did not make anything up in making this movie. Everything that you're seeing in this film is 100% factual." He doesn't say it just once. He says it like more times than I can count.
Like he's talking about how everything in this movie Ted Bundy did as well.
We're talking like Carly Beth levels of just like every chance. I'm not making this up. I would imagine at some point in the next 30 days, Rob will go back and watch the commentary with this. And he will hear the director, Matthew Bright, says, everything you're seeing in this is factual. We did everything that he says it later on. I'll get to it because there's one specific scene where he gets to and he says something. He goes along the lines of that everything you're seeing in this film was documented about Ted Bundy doing at some point.
Oh my.
Because, and the point he references to that was he sees something when Ted Bundy has the surreal car scene on the college campus. He goes, "Go, Ted, go," as he sees him driving around. And then at one point, when Ted Bundy is watching all the gorgeous 70s hippie women, he's drinking his beer from his paper bag, and he grows down, starts rubbing his crotch.
Okay.
And the director says at that point, "Hey, guys, we've all been there at some point, right?" So the director is saying that if you're a guy, if you've not seen a bunch of gorgeous women and had the urge to grab yourself at the exact moment, there's something wrong with you.
I think somebody saw this director's commentary and then sat down and wrote the Twilight Zone episode, Not All Men. This is crazy. I think we've talked about it a good bit on here, but it's like, that's a very bold thing to say. Of course, it was a different time, but maybe that's why there's no real podcast about this. No one's bold enough to discuss such a fiasco.
I think I'm the first person to ever listen to the director's commentary.
Okay.
There's a very real chance that if I called Guinness up right now, they'd be like, "You know what? We don't need, you know what? You have it." And I'd be like, "Don't you have to come out and verify?" They're like, "No, trust us. We have it on good authority. You're the first." But yeah, there are so many moments like that where the director, I think he's a pervert. I know that's like
it sounds
libel,
like it.
but I'm pretty sure he's a pervert based on what he says.
I think, Zach, you're living proof. You've never touched your junk in a car? What have you been in the driver's seat of a car? What, like a handful of times?
Something like that. All right. So after that, there's the dance club sequence. Unless there's something, Rob, interrupt me if there's something there's a scene that you feel that I'm leaving out.
There's the scene where,
or something important that is like if there's something you feel like I know there's a couple of scenes that I left out though, but yeah,
sure. But the one it stands out to me, we get like the 7 to 10 second scene of him in a classroom and the old woman's talking about sociopaths.
She's giving a lesson on Ted Bundy to Ted Bundy.
Yes. And one of the phrases on the chalkboard is just chronic masturbator.
Yes.
And I was like, man, they're subliminally setting up these later scenes perfectly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of things. At one point, like there's like a Club Ted sign, like above, like when he brings the woman, there's a Club Ted sign. I'm like, aha. Someone thought they were clever.
Yeah, and then I think before the club, we get our first like great montage. It's a very short, light montage.
Oh yes.
Runs up to a sidewalk display of electronics and steals a TV.
Whoa!
Stop.
Whoa! You gotta do this justice, Rob. I forgot
It's a
about
laundry
this.
list.
It is a laundry list. But how this begins is after he's grabbing his crotch, after seeing the gorgeous woman, we have the classroom. We see Ted Bundy. He's at like, I don't know, like a bodega, a grocery store. And we see him like eyeing like, I don't know, it's like a shelf full of like canned goods. And there's this really pretty woman. Because every woman in the movie's pretty. He turns over and looks at her. She looks at him. They make eye contact. She smiles. And he continues to just kind of give her the death stare into oblivion.
Yep.
To the point where she like makes a disgusted face. But it's really subtle. It's actually probably the most subtle performance in the entire film. She makes a disgusted face and like has like closed the body posture, body language, and walks away. And he continues to go back to like staring at the canned goods. He walks further down the aisle, like picks up a bottle of wine, eyes it, and like slips it into his jacket pocket.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, okay. Ted Bundy is like someone who steals, like he shoplifts. Oh, like, okay, that's believable that he's a degenerate. No, folks. It's much more elaborate than that. Because next we see him walking into like a dress parlor or like a dress store. He's like feeling different women's dresses. We see him about to like go down like, oh God, he sees like two women trying on dresses and can't help but notice that one of their pocketbooks is there, and just out of nowhere there's like $20 sticking out of it. He like sneakily goes over to it, plucks the $20 bill out, and then like scoodles away.
So and I think when he switches to big game hunting in the next few scenes of his stealing, at least it made me wonder. They set it up well. He's stealing just for the sake of stealing, because what's the point of stealing money if you're just going to steal other things?
Exactly. Because as the sequence continues, and once again, this is a montage, we see him. It's like an electronics store, and it's what an electronics store was before there were Best Buy, Circuit Cities, PC Worlds. Is that it has like appliances. There's a bunch of TVs outside, and Ted Bundy again meanders over to it, looks inside the store very conspicuously, and then out of nowhere just picks up this giant TV and sprints away with it.
Oh yeah, I was just like dying laughing at this. It's so good.
It's great. And the thing about those that like even the technical aspects of it betray it, because it's shot with a fixed camera and it's at a very flat angle.
Yep.
Like it's set up perfectly for a comedic shot. It's like that's the thing too, is I think a lot of this movie was filmed the same way you film a comedy.
Yeah, it sure looks like it. And that just goes along with the next thing he steals.
Yes, because next thing we have another fixed camera shot where Ted Bundy shows up in his little Volkswagen yellow VW Bug, and it's a motel hotel. He pulls up and he gets out of the driver's side. And I want to note too that how this shot is framed is kind of baffling too. It's framed that if you're going to, he stops his car, gets out, goes around the entire side of the car, steals like a 6-7 foot tall potted plant, shoves it into the passenger side like window of his car, runs back to the driver's side, gets in the car, and drives away after stealing a potted plant.
Yep.
It's comedic gold, folks. It's comedy gold.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's like we were saying before. How do you take that? How do you take that any other way than funny or amusing or comical?
And
like, how do you watch that and go, yes, a true reflection on a serial killer's beginnings? It's like, what? No, like Zack said, just show him taking the alcohol at the store in the beginning. That sets it up enough. We know what we're watching.
Exactly. But the thing that convinces me all the more that this is more comedic is that if you're the director, and this is the difference between someone trying to make a serious Ted Bundy biopic and somebody trying to make a tongue-in-cheek comedy without the producers finding out until it's too late. Because look at how he pulls up to this. If you're trying to show Ted Bundy stealing something, you wouldn't frame it, so he has to pull up, get out of the driver's side, oh God, like kind of like waddle run around the entire front of the car, then awkwardly shove the thing into the passenger window. And then once he gets it in, he has to then waddle run all the way around to do it again, and then get into the driver's seat and pull away.
Yep.
If you're framing that to show that he's a kleptomaniac, you would frame it so, he pulls up with the driver being there, he shoves it into the car window behind the driver's side and gets immediately into it and pulls off. So it's like, okay, if he's a kleptomaniac, he's planned out every aspect of the theft. He wouldn't be having this comical thing of having to run around it.
100%.
And that's just one sequence amongst many.
Yes. Oh yeah, we're barely scratching the surface here. What? This is minute 6 of the movie?
Yes, in a 100-minute long film?
Yeah, I think it is 100 minutes, yeah.
Folks, buckle in.
Yes, exactly. The next note I have, because I have in all caps, he grabs a TV that is part of a sidewalk display and just runs with it. Following note, all caps, he grabs a potted plant outside of a motel and just runs with it. Following note, all caps, everyone's nipples are so pointy. So I'm guessing the next scene is the club scene.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody's got, I think everybody except Ted Bundy has pointy nipples.
Well,
conscious choice on the director's part? Probably.
But the weird thing about that, though, is that, like, the girl in the blue dress, like, when he eventually sees her, like, when he's doing his peeping Tom shtick, she's wearing a bra. That's what's so weird. Like, everybody in this movie...
Pointy bras? I don't know, underwire? I'm not an expert.
You're not a brassiere expert?
No, I feel like I haven't seen a pointy nipple in forever. You know? Like, I have to see him in movies that depict the 70s and 80s.
Okay. Okay, getting to the dance club sequence. And this is going to be rather brief because not that much happens here. Like, on, like, comedy level. But the thing I can't figure out is that it's a 70s dance club. Everybody, for the most part, is, like, in proper, like, 70s attire. Yet, the lighting and the music is not 70s. It's very like early, like late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes, yeah. The music definitely, the music is in this movie is interesting, and it doesn't always fit with the tone that you expect or from a serial killer movie or that you'd expect from what we're seeing on screen.
Yes. This movie, it's as if the person who's in charge of the sound design and sound editing just threw a bunch of audio clips in. Like, you figure it out, Matthew Bright.
It's a puzzle.
It really is, because like none of the music fits and none of the lighting, because it's very like neon lighting. It's very like it's not disco. It doesn't have that disco aesthetic, which is what you would expect from a 70s nightclub.
Yeah, it's more of like a new age nightclub where everybody's just sitting around kind of drinking, and then when they want to dance, there's a small area for it. Yeah,
like I kind of expect like you could probably take the audio out of that clip and replace it with like Moby. It'd be like, oh, this makes a whole lot more sense now.
Yep.
All right. I'm trying to think. Did I get anything else from that? Apparently, according to the commentary, the director says he wanted a dance number, but the producers said no.
Oh yeah, this is a comedy. This is 100% intended to be a comedy.
He says also that during this sequence, he lost his mind sometime while directing this.
Okay. I think his timeline or estimate of the time is a little late, but as long as he admits it at some point, right?
Yes. All right. So, Rob, do you want to describe the next sequence for us? What are the true highlights of this film?
It begins with the group of 4 girls leaving the club, and Ted Bundy follows them. I'm pretty sure that one of the girls, when they're leaving the club, says the line, "I'm so drunk, I'm hallucinating."
I am so drunk, I am hallucinating.
You got to be really drunk for that to happen. Like, that she would not be walking, I think. She was actually so drunk she was hallucinating. But he kind of follows them. They eventually splinter off. He follows one in particular, the one that he has to dance in the club, I believe, right?
Yes.
And he follows her. You know, he stays way behind and, you know, not within shadow distance, everything a good stalker should do. Goes to her house, gets into, like, the alleyway next to her house, and just stands pretty close. Like, I'd say, there's a fence and a shrub between him and a window the curtains aren't even closed. I don't even think there are curtains on this window.
The window is open. It is very I would say he's like maybe like 4 feet away from the window, and it's not
so close.
Yeah, it is like definition of spitting distance.
Oh yeah, he goes. He's watching her. She starts to undress. And
this is where the pointy nipples are, by the way. I'm watching the scene right now. Her nipples are like the air conditioning must have been sent to like 40 that day on set.
Yes, definitely. And he starts to jack it because, of course, he's getting horny this close to this woman that he danced with. And at some point during this process of her undressing and him getting into the mood, we hear off screen somebody say, "Oh, hell, not you again."
Oh, hell, you again?
Which means what? Well, I know we see this neighbor pop out of the window in a little bit and pour water on Ted Bundy to stop him from masturbating, but Ted Bundy's like, "Nope, I like him. I like him dead and cold. You're turning me on, man." But what? Okay, Zach, what the hell does this mean? When the neighbor says, "Oh, hell, not you again," there's only two options. That Ted Bundy is repeatedly going to this girl's window and jacking it outside of it, and the neighbor recognizes Ted Bundy from this repeated procedure, or there's a bunch of different men masturbating outside this constantly open window, and the neighbor just thinks it's always the same person. What the hell does this line mean? Oh, hell, not you again. Like, how did you take this? Do you think it's Ted Bundy? It's like he's going for the record outside of this window?
Okay,
like they set up a little trash can right there because he frequents it so often.
No, Rob, they set up a jizzle.
Oh, okay. Knocked it out of the park there, Zach.
No, like this sequence, this was kind of, I'm pretty sure this is the first, like the moment when I watched this movie how many years ago, where it was like, oh, so this is where we're going. Because that line of dialogue has to be like somebody's like when somebody typed that in the script. I think I forget where we were talking about it. Was that like when you make a movie, there are so many layers of things that like you have like the original script being typed out. Someone has to look over that and be like, oh, like not proofread it, be like do a revision or just like a second draft. And then be like, oh, we're going to include this in the shooting script. Okay. Then there's on set. Then you have to convince an actor to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to do multiple takes of it. Then you have to look at the dailies. Then you have to edit it all together. And then you have to have like numerous showings of your final cut. And yet in all those like dozens of steps, nobody said, oh, wait, maybe this is a little too goofy of a line to say. Like it's nothing short of a miracle. That, forget it, folks, like everything in this movie is nothing short of a miracle that it got into the final cut. Like in any real world, like this would be like a 15-minute long movie. It's like Ted Bundy wakes up, he goes to a grocery store, and he ends up in the electric chair. Like that's, if you took out all the moments in this movie that are completely inappropriate in the context of who it's supposed to be about, you'd have like a super short film.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But getting to your question, though, is that you would have to assume it's Ted Bundy keeps going back to this woman's window. Or this girl really gets around.
Yep. I was so funny. I was just like, that line had me dying. Oh, hell, not you again.
And I want to read from the director's commentary. We might have to transcribe the director's commentary. We might have to do that.
Put it in the show notes.
Yes, because this is what he says during that moment in the film. Oh, okay. There's a little bit of context. He says at some point that where they filmed this sequence was in a neighborhood for immigrant families.
Ooh.
Whatever the hell that means. And then as he's talking, when this scene begins, like he's saying something about like the neighborhood and the location, like the set. And out of nowhere, he starts to laugh and he says, and I quote, during the sequence where Ted Bundy is masturbating outside a woman's window, quote, he thought it was a treat to beat his meat, end quote.
Oh my.
That is the... Okay, folks, I think there's going to be like at the indictment hearing All you need to do is read a director's commentary.
And also at every parole hearing, at the sentencing hearing, when the guards think he's been on his good behavior, go back, read that again.
He thought it was a treat to beat his meat.
This is, I feel like, we always talk about people get in trouble because some of their old tweets get dug up. This is like, his old director's commentary gets dug up.
Can we cancel someone, Rob? Does Cinemoddities have the power to cancel someone?
We probably do have the power, but I think we don't want to on principle unless it's a direct competitor's podcast and or restaurant. This guy we don't need to cancel. Okay, I don't think we do.
All right. Can you cancel someone that doesn't exist anymore?
That's a good question.
All right.
It's like banishing them.
All right.
Sending them to the shadow realm.
That's a Cinemoddities term for canceling someone that doesn't exist anymore. Banishing them to the shadow realm.
Perfect.
The one Yu-Gi-Oh fan we have out there is just burst out laughing. Like they did a spit take. All right. So I want it known that the actor who plays Ted Bundy in this, Michael Riley Burke is his name.
Okay.
And that man deserves an Oscar, or an honorary Oscar, not for his performance in this, for what he had to put up with on set. Because I don't know how you do any of this. Like, that actor must be just like, oh, good Lord, someone's going to find this movie and my career's ruined. Like, every night he comes home from work and, asks his wife, like, honey, did they find it yet? No, it hasn't happened yet. Because he says, the director makes a very big point that Michael Riley Burke was really on board with this. Like, he was really committed. Like, he lost weight for the role. He wanted, because apparently Ted Bundy in real life was 6'4", only weighed 140 pounds, the definition of a tall and lanky man. And he's Michael Riley Burke didn't eat it. He hardly ate. He wanted to keep that physique. And so he goes, Michael asked me, what should I be doing during this sequence? Why is this guy, why is he outside this girl's apartment? He's like, what do you want me to do, physically during this scene? Mm-hmm. And this is what the director told him. Think of a chimpanzee.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Animalistic.
Yes. So when Michael Riley Burke read the script, it said Ted Bundy furiously masturbates outside random dance club girls' window. He said, how do you want me to do this? And the director's knee-jerk response was, think of a chimpanzee.
This is fantastic because if I ever had to direct a scene with somebody masturbating like this, I would definitely go, think the third chapter of Ulysses, where James Joyce wrote a scene about masturbation so intense that it got the book banned in America for a few years. I'd be think that. Total other end of the spectrum is this dude, think monkey. Those are two extremes right there for filming a masturbatory episode.
Oh, yes. And I've always wondered this. This is a slight little kind of tangent. And we'll get to eventually on Cinemoddities, Mulholland Drive.
Oh.
There's a scene in Mulholland Drive with, spoiler alert, Naomi Watts, and she's furiously masturbating. And I've always wondered, are there any other, on IMDb, they used to have tags with things being I don't know, weird things that happen to a movie, and there'd be other movies with those sort of same tags. Yeah. I always wondered what other movies would fall into the realm of furious masturbation. And I've wondered that for years, ever since seeing Mulholland Drive, which oddly enough was in the same time span I discovered the Ted Bundy movie. And now I have it. We have Mulholland Drive and Ted Bundy.
I'm actually going to throw you another one, Zach, that you still have to watch, I think. Under the Silver Lake. Andrew Garfield furiously masturbates in that film.
Oh, boy.
So we got 3. Okay, I think a series is coming up.
Oh, boy. All right. So I think that's the end of... I don't know what scene this is in. Okay, I think this is later on.
I think that's the end of the masturbatory episode scene, because after that, my next bunch of notes are literally complaining about Ted Bundy's girlfriend. As I was watching this, I texted Zach that she is the biggest bitch. She is.
Well, okay. A couple things before we get to the girlfriend like subplot is that after he's done furiously masturbating, the guy throws a cup of water on him. He then goes driving around, finds a woman just for some reason walking around at like 4 a.m., getting to her car, just goes over like whacks her across the head with, I don't know if it's the mini crowbar yet, but just whacks. Like that's one thing I made. Like much like Rob, I took a note that said there's a lot of bludgeoning in this movie.
Oh yeah,
like an insane amount of bludgeoning. Like if you took a sip every single time someone gets bludgeoned, you might have a problem by the end of this movie.
You'd be so drunk you're hallucinating.
It's clearly like that's another like kind of like on the Carly Beth scale. That's up there.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's what we're calling it, folks. When something happens like with much repetition, it's a Carly Beth.
Indeed.
All right. So he bludgeons this random woman. And that's one thing, too, because as this scene was happening, the director says, and this is a very telling quote, I didn't set out to make a dirty movie.
Okay. Does he go on to say what he did make out or set out to make?
No, he doesn't. Because that sort of comment feels like, who are you trying to convince? The audience or yourself?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because there's a couple of shots in this where, you're making a Ted Bundy movie. Nothing in this should be like, I don't want to say sexy, but like numerous times in this, like we get shots of like women's underwear. It feels very voyeuristic.
Oh, yeah.
But not in the sense of like, oh, Ted Bundy, like voyeurism. Like, yes, like there's like certain shots in this where like we said earlier, Ted Bundy's outside the girl's window. And that is very much from Ted Bundy's POV.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we'll get shots of like right after that where he goes up to the random woman wearing like a mini skirt like 4 a.m. in the morning, because that's what all women do. They wear mini skirts around at 4 a.m. in the morning in like what? Washington State, like, oh God, we don't know what time of year this was. But we have that, and like he'll bludgeon her, and the camera's always locked down. The camera very rarely moves in this movie. And like we'll get shots of her and we'll like see up her skirt.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like,
happens all the time.
And I'm like, I don't get why you're showing this. That feels it doesn't feel voyeuristic in like the guise of Ted Bundy seeing it. It feels voyeuristic as in like, like you're getting to see something kind of like the director says, you're getting to see something a little dirty here, a little naughty. And I'm like, it's those sort of moments that make me wonder like, oh, does the director have a fetish?
Mm-hmm.
And then in preparation for this episode, because we'll get to the point where I had to turn the commentary off, I did some research, and Michael Bright made another movie called Freeway, starring Reese Witherspoon and Kiefer Sutherland. And I found it, and I'm watching the credits, and the film, the credits are done like, it's not animated, but like it's all like cartoon, like animated imagery, but it's all stills. It's just like stills.
Okay.
And there's a couple of scenes in that in the images where it shows like women like bending over in skirts and you see their underwear. And it started to dawn on me being like, I think the director has a fetish.
Sounds like it.
And then once the movie Freeway starts, there's a shot where one of the characters is like hoisted into a police car, very similarly to how Ted Bundy hoist the women into the cars, and you see up the woman's skirt.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, oh, no. And then later in the film, when Reese Witherspoon's doing something, you don't get a good shot of her underwear, though. But there's a couple of shots of, like, they're, like, up her skirt. Okay. And I'm like, okay, the director clearly has a thing for this. Mm-hmm. And this is his way of, like, getting gratification.
Sure.
Because it happens too often. And Freeway, I think, was released in 96 or 97, and this came out in 2002. So there's a nice like span of time there where it's like, okay, it's not like, oh, he's learning how to use the camera.
Yeah. Yep. It sure seems that way. And maybe that's the reason. Icky. Yeah, maybe that's the reason we don't see more from him in this day and age, because, you know, he would have to tone down this softcore sexuality to a great extent, because it definitely comes off as weird, not, you know, as comedy. It doesn't really add to the comedy of the movie. I wouldn't say it adds at all.
No.
It's just something that's just like, you know, it's like we were talking about feet in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's like, this doesn't add much to the story. It's just there because clearly somebody likes it.
Yep. And typically it's a director.
Yep. Yep.
Remember, folks, if anything seems peculiar, like on a sexual level, and it's out of place, chances are the director's a pervert. Rule of thumb. Make note of it. It might be important later on.
Rule of thumb. Copy that down in your workbooks, class.
More or less. All right. I guess the next scene is the Ted Bundy girlfriend. We finally get introduced to her, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's what? They're at the park or something in the first scene with the kid? Mm-hmm. And he's like, I love spending time with you. Are you sleeping around? No, I got you a present. Did you steal it? No, I wanted to give you something nice because you've given me money for school. Okay, I love you again. And then just repeat. She changes on a dime. She's not bipolar. She's like quadpolar. She jumps around. It makes no sense. She has like a roller coaster of emotions in every scene she's in. And I'm just like, Ted Bundy, like, why didn't you kill her first?
There's a thing the director says in the commentary about her.
It's based on his mother.
No. There's something there's an observation he makes based on I don't know if the character of Lee was his real girlfriend during this time. I know Ted Bundy had a bunch of girlfriends during his existence.
I read that it was based off of one of his real girlfriends that was named Elizabeth in real life.
Oh, okay, whatever. Because there's a point later on in the film where the director, Matthew Bright, I'm going to keep saying his name, folks, because I don't want this to be ever associated with me. He makes an observation about her later on in the film.
Oh, God.
That might be the most hysterical and awful thing at the same time. I know I say a lot on this podcast where I'm like, oh, that's awful in the best way possible.
Yep.
This is horrible in the most awful way possible. It's hysterical. It is. It's hilarious because it's an observation that's probably true. But to think about what happens to that character, the lead girlfriend character, in that sort of way comes from a guy that's like, you know what? I think I relate to Ted Bundy more than any person ever should. But we'll get to that in due time. And that should have been a very good indicator that I should have turned off the commentary much earlier. All right. So I don't have much to say about the girlfriend. I find her amusing in relation to Ted Bundy because she gives us some of the great moments of him. Because that's the one thing about this movie is that Ted Bundy doesn't get to really play off the same character often. Mm-hmm. She's pretty much the only character that he repeatedly plays off of. Yep. And we'll get to the first sex scene between the two of them in due time. But according to the director, during the moment with the kid with them in the play, the park, he goes. Apparently, there's music in this scene, and he goes, the obnoxious music, but we kept it in. Which I think could be summed up to the entire soundtrack of the film. But the best part is that while this scene is playing on, he says the phrase, "This is a pain in the ass girlfriend."
No, okay. Yeah, she really comes off that way.
Yeah, but that's the weird thing, though, is that, like, he's a director. If he's aware of the fact that this is a very, like, nosy, annoying, needy girlfriend,
then he knows that he's influencing the audience to root for the villain. Supposed to be the villain in, like, true air quotes, as history books would say, the villain.
Yeah, like that. There's so many tells in this that, like, we're supposed to look at Ted Bundy. He's the protagonist of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where that ending comes out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not even. No, actually, it doesn't come out of nowhere because it makes perfect sense once you think about it. Like, if Ted Bundy's a protagonist of this, it would make sense that his death is surrounded by melancholy.
Sure, yeah, and I think I have some notes on that when we get there. That I think I get what the ending they were going for, but it does not come off as such.
All right. At one point in the movie, somebody says a dirty word. He goes, "Sorry about the profanity."
Really?
Yeah, he says that.
What? Okay.
So remember, folks, rape, murder montage, but profanity is bad.
Morals. They are subjective.
Yes. He apparently says also that in real life, kids love Ted Bundy. Make of that what you will.
I would love to see a statistic on that.
I think we all would. And then he goes, once again, all this stuff is factual. Direct quote.
How do you rank which if kids like Ted Bundy or not. Is it against other serial killers? Because they would pick Gacy in the clown costume before they pick Ted Bundy, right? How does that? Oh my God! Okay, we might have to interview this person.
We might have to. All right. Because then after this is there anything else, or is it next the first sex scene between him and the girlfriend?
I believe the next is them having sex, and she wants to, I think, quote, do it regular. And because Ted Bundy's like, they're doing regular old, missionary style. Ted Bundy's like, oh, we should try something new. You should flip over. And she's like, no, that's gross. You can't fuck me like a dog. Like it's the inspiration for that scene from Knocked Up.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Where Katherine Heigl's like, you can't fuck me like I'm a dog.
I can't do this. I can't focus like this. I look disgusting from this angle. I can feel you looking up at my chins. I know I look gross.
No, you look beautiful. Your chin looks so skinny.
My boobs are all like squishy and they're flopping around. I can feel it and it's distracting.
No,
it's all National Geographic.
Okay. Do you want to do doggy style?
No, I do not want you to fuck me like a dog.
I'm not fucking you like a dog. It's doggy style. It's just the style. It's not like a dog. You don't have to go outside or anything.
And that's exactly what Lee says. And then she's like, let's just do it regular. And then he just goes off on her and asks if it feels like love.
Let's try something else.
What?
Come on, flip over.
No, I don't like that. It's disgusting.
Lee, it's just another way to make love.
No, it has nothing to do with love. It's dirty.
Lee, sex is only dirty when you do it right.
Let's just do it regular.
Okay. Fine. We'll do it regular. Okay? Because that's what feels like love, right? Yeah? Does that feel like love? Yeah? Good. How about that? Does that feel like love? Huh? Does that feel like love? Huh?
It's great. It's not okay. Okay, folks. This is great in Looney Tunes Ted Bundy world.
Yeah, this is great in the sense that when I usually edit this podcast, I put the clips in. I don't know if we heard the audience is peek behind the curtains. I put a lot of the clips in. Zack does his fair share of clips as he knows he should. But this is one episode I might have to put all the clips in and then listen to it again and see how they come off. Because this I'm thinking of this scene in particular. This audio might be a little strange without the weird performances Lee puts on.
That's the weird thing about this movie is that, in my preparation for this, I went to IMDb. I also found someone did like a montage of all the death scenes in this movie.
Like a kill counter?
Yeah, exactly, kill counter. Thank you. And all the comments are like, oh man, this is Ted Bundy was so horrible. It's all the comments that you would expect, from somebody hearing about Ted Bundy's atrocities, and not what, because all the scenes, like you said, are all cut just the kill scene. Well, I don't know how Ted Bundy having sex with his girlfriend's a kill scene, but we will talk about that in due time. But it's out of context, I wonder if any of these scenes, outside of the rape murder montage, do they work comedically, or is this something you have to kind of watch in its entirety to appreciate on a comedic level?
I think what I was saying before with that build-up that kind of eases the audience into being okay with laughing at this is necessary to some extent.
I don't think it's okay. We'll get more into this later on because
I think that's a good kind of litmus test though, because like I said earlier, it's we went into this kind of having this preconceived notion that it was hysterical from years past. I think this will come up when we discuss late night status of this, but what would someone going into this cold think of it? And that's a good question.
That's the biggest question of all. Because I don't know. All right. So that scene, that's the problem though. I don't know, because it's so goofy, but that's the problem though too, is that Rob, you and I are weirdos. We find comedy in things that most people don't. And I know that we have this super ironic culture now, and yes, political correctness has kind of ruined that for the most part. But it's the idea of again, he starts much like the furious masturbation, he starts to furiously thrust. And we have the. That's a thing that happens in this movie. And according to the director,
high impact sexual violence. That describes this movie perfectly.
I'm pretty sure that's on the little rating box, and they gave it like a rating.
When you're flipping through like your TV guide on your remote or whatever, that's just the description of this movie: high impact sexual violence, and then in parentheses 2002.
Exactly. Apparently, according to director Matthew Bright, he said that apparently that the MP. Wait, that happened yet?
Wait.
Oh, is this a point? No, he didn't make her stop breathing yet, did he? That didn't happen yet, right?
No, that's the later one where he's he's saying "fuck you, bitch."
Well, apparently Matthew Bright jumped the gun because he says apparently the MPAA had problems with how many times he thrusted in every in the sequence. Apparently, him doing these things wasn't bad, but the number of thrusts was their issue with the film.
Oh my God! Great combination of this idea and remember the Three Pumps football celebration from Key and Peele.
Pretty much.
We have this scene of Ted Bundy, thrusting at somebody else. A corpse, a woman, a man, who knows who he's thrusting at, and a referee in the background, and who blows the whistle after there's too many pumps, and the referee has like an MPAA hat on.
He does make a point of saying that they couldn't show him having sex with a corpse.
Okay, that makes some sense. That's usually morally reprehensible for a lot of people, right?
I wanted on record that the filmmaker was like, "Goddamn MPAA, not letting me have necrophilia in my goddamn movie." That feels like the logical step for where you have J.K. Simmons and Terminator Genesis going goddamn time traveling robots coming up their goddamn tracks.
Yes.
Goddamn MPAA won't let me have goddamn necrophilia in my goddamn Ted Bundy movie.
That's great.
All right, I'm not sure, Rob, if you have any other scenes to highlight. The next one I have is when he comes over to the girlfriend's place and he's hungry.
Okay, so I the next note I have after the "Does this feel like love?" is then they reveal that he works or volunteers or something at some type of sexual assault or domestic violence hotline.
Yeah, suicide hotline, which is true. He did volunteer for the suicide hotline.
So,
I know that much.
So this made me once again in the mindset of where we are in this movie. This made me think of I'm sure I've said this to you, Zach, but you ever hear that thing where it's people are exceeded or pushed to exceed by their environment, and a common example is Einstein was a patent clerk. He literally spent his whole life looking at other people's ideas, and so people say that's a reason why he became so smart and was able to fit so many things together. I feel that that's what they're telling us about Ted Bundy. He listened to people's complaints, and that's how he refined his craft of being very charming and having a lot of guile and being able to convince almost anyone of anything. I thought that was an interesting touch to add that to the movie because, like you said, as I found in my research, that was true. He actually worked or volunteered at such a type of service. So I thought that was one of those twinges that was okay, this is pretty interesting, but knowing this movie, it's not going to harp on that very long and just go into killing montages.
Oh, yeah. You can't be there's no subtlety involved with Ted Bundy.
Yes. And then I think before he goes back to the girlfriend's house, I might be missing a girlfriend scene. He has
his first rape and murder.
Yes, and I wanted to highlight where he follows this woman into her house. He breaks into her apartment, and he puts his hand over her mouth while she's asleep. She, muffled screams, says, "You're not going to scream. Do what I say or I'm going to kill you. Do you believe me?" And she goes, "Yes." He punches her in the face, knocking her out, and goes, "I just broke into your apartment. Why would you believe me?" And I'm oh, that's a comedic gold line right there.
Did that happen? I thought the first time he does it is when he breaks into the girl from the first one, and he does it when she's asleep. I think that's later.
Oh, okay. I might be missing a girlfriend scene, but that's the next note I have, so I had to bring that line up in fear.
That's Rob. Come on, I know it's easy to lose track considering all the rape and murder is in this movie, but you got to keep track of them all, Rob. We need a system.
Okay, so which one am I missing? Which scene am I skipping over?
It's the very first time we see him rape and murder. It's the girl from the dance club again. He breaks into her apartment. She's asleep. He thwacks her with the little mini crowbar. And he then handcuffs her to the bed frame and then starts punching her, and we get like our first "fuck you, bitch."
Okay, yes.
And then he does that. Then he goes to the girlfriend's house, and he's like, "Oh my God!" It's like, again, it's like 3 a.m. in the morning, and she's like, "Oh my God, I was so worried. You hadn't called like in weeks." And she's like, "Ted, are you okay?" He's like, "I'm really hungry." And it's such a, again, it's another comedic scene. Like, after raping and murdering, we have a scene of him eating chicken wings.
Yes, okay, that's why I didn't have a note on it up here in my main notes, because there's a note in the snacks about that. Okay,
oh boy.
That which I keep at the bottom of my notes. Okay, so that's why I'm caught up now.
And then the best part is that she's sitting there as he's eating his chicken wings, kind of like hunched over the coffee table. She's just like laying behind him, looking at him kind of like lovingly as he's just like scarfing down like a late night snack.
Yeah, I definitely got the sense that she was way too excited and happy and turned on by the fact that she fed him.
Yes.
I mean, I guess that makes sense for human relationships, but they were laying it on, or at least her performance was laying it on in a weird way.
Yeah. Like, I get it, but like, it's such a weird notion to have him like, oh, he raped and murdered. Now he worked up an appetite. It's like, that's so icky. Like, that's such an icky thing. Like, oh, after you rape and murder, you need to eat, right? Because that spells a lot of energy. Like whacking your little mini crowbar across some poor woman's head, then chaining her up, and then screaming "F you, bitches!" You like bludgeon her to death with your fist. Then never mind everything else that comes with that.
Indeed.
Then you got to put your pants back on like that. It's like, ew, ew. It's like this. There's also an aspect of this. Like if you're not Rob and Zack, like if you're a normal human being, you look at this and there's something like just beyond icky about everything here.
Big time.
Like, I don't know, Rob, is it cynicism? Is that what we have? Is it like irony, like to the point of like beyond cynicism? Because I think if you're not Rob and Zack, this is just icky. Like everything about this, like it's not bad enough. Like you read about Ted Bundy and it's like horrible. Then you have like a pervert make a movie about it and it's like, ugh.
I think this is another example, a weird example of how we've discussed separating the art from the artist. In this case, it's more like separating the context of this movie from the actual events that happened, and we know that it's a movie, and so we're more able to make fun of it, kind of thing.
But the weird thing is, like, this is the part of my brain, though, like, I know how movies are made.
Sure.
And it's like, how do you reconcile this? Like, how do you instruct? I think about it. This isn't just a guy like in his basement with his mom making a Ted Bundy like biopic. This involves money and producers and actors.
Sure, yeah.
And not one person on set said, this feels wrong. Like, how did the producers not look at like the dailies and be like, nope, out.
Yeah, that's
get
a good
out.
point.
Get out, you pervert. All right. So after that, we have like a pillow talk sequence between him and the girlfriend as she like comforts him. Doesn't really matter what is said. We have the beginning of another fantastic sequence where Ted Bundy pulls up in his little VW bug. It's like a bunch of women just walking the streets of Washington State by themselves at midnight, like at 4 a.m. for no reason other than just that's what women do. They walk around the streets at 4 a.m. That's what all
show off their
women
mini
do.
skirts.
Exactly. That's what all women do. They walk around at horrible hours of the night in sexy outfits.
Oh, yeah.
They're coming and going. Can't keep a good lady down. So like Rob said, this is the
That's great. They're coming and going.
Right. At one point, one of them's walking out, the other one's walking in. They got places to go, people to see.
Oh my God.
So like Rob said before, we have another woman where it's not explained how Ted Bundy got into her apartment. It's just like we see her like she walks into her room. We don't even really see her get undressed. We see her kind of like one scene we see her walk into her room. Next scene she's like laying in bed. Ted Bundy shows up and like Rob said, like he says like it's like don't scream or I'll hurt you. And then
do you believe me? Yes. Knocks her out. I just broke into your apartment. Why would you believe me?
That's comedy.
Yeah, 100%. You cannot take that any other way.
All right. So after that happens, we don't see it, right? We just have to assume that she's raped and murdered.
Yeah, because the next shot is her getting carried out in something that does not hide the fact that it's a body at all. Like it's a body bag, pretty much.
He basically found a couple garbage bags, wrapped a human body. Like, imagine like Dexter level. Like, oh, he's wrapping the body up, but it's the most conspicuous way to wrap a body.
Yeah. It made me think of The Burbs when like Tom Hanks sees his neighbors taking some out in the middle of the night, and it's clearly a body bag, like or a body in garbage bags. And I'm like, there's no other way to conceive or perceive what that is.
Exactly. Because while this is happening, we have like a group of 4 people that, like everybody else in this town, apparently just wander the streets at 4 a.m.
Yes.
Walking their dog. They see Ted Bundy putting this like human-sized plastic bag into the back seat of his car. And they're like, whoop-de-doo.
Have a nice night, sir.
And once again, the director reiterates, this actually happened.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's how Ted Bundy avoided detection and being caught so many times. He would just hide in plain sight.
Exactly. Which I get to a certain degree, but once again, there's a way of filming this that doesn't make it so comical. The idea of having a man walking out with a clearly a human, like deceased body, and then walk past a group of people that are clearly oblivious to it. Like the only time a sequence like that will work is that if it's in New York City. That is like one of those classic New York City sequences where like it doesn't matter how strange the thing that is happening is going on.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, New Yorkers will just, there's nothing strange enough in New York City to stop a New Yorker.
Exactly.
Except this is 4 a.m. in like the suburbs of Washington State. If you're walking around with a group of people and you see a guy coming out of an apartment with a human body in a plastic bag, you're going to be like, yo, we should do something. And at the very least, if you don't do anything,
you get the license plate.
Or you're going to call the cops and be like, okay, it's like 4:30 a.m. Me and my friends were walking our dog. We saw a guy in a VW Bug walking out.
And here's the license plate.
Yeah, it's horrible. To the point where it's like, I know you want to show that scene, but you got to do something to convey it more than just oh God,
big time.
Yeah, it's this movie is inexplicable in a way.
Oh, definitely. None of it, plays as you would expect.
Maybe not in a
serial
way. Maybe
killer
biopic.
Biopic to play out. Absolutely.
All right, because the very next scene it's him and like Lee going back to his apartment. She walks into his apartment, and we get like a very, very like small glimpse of what's in the apartment.
Nice TV.
Nice TV, because we see the TV that he stole earlier in the film is there, as well as the giant plant he stole from the hotel.
It's awesome. It's a nice little throwback to the beginning.
And it's worth pointing out, too, that the plant he stole is like a 6-foot tall, like bonsai tree in that, like, it's that spiral shaped cut of like the tree. And like, it doesn't fit in his apartment. Like the ceiling is maybe like what, 7 feet high, maybe tops. And this thing
it's a
is
fire
like,
hazard for sure.
For sure. And it's like scratching the roof or the ceiling. Like, it's so comical. And she, like, I didn't even pick up on this. I'm not sure if Rob did either. And it's not until the director's commentary that I even picked up on this, is that when Ted Bundy is pouring drinks, we see, like, he has, like, something like something, like, it almost looks like kind of like a chandelier hanging from the ceiling. And the director says, oh, that's a bicycle tire with all of Ted Bundy's murder instruments hung from it.
Oh, no, I did not notice that.
Apparently, he doesn't say this actually happened after this, so we don't know the validity of it. But if you look at a freeze frame, it is a bicycle tire strung up from the ceiling with all like oh good lord, like murder. There's like knives and like rope and stuff hanging from a bicycle tire.
Is the bicycle tire like horizontal and the stuff is hanging off? So so it's like a mobile type of thing.
Yes, exactly. It's a murder mobile.
Oh my god. Yeah, that I did not notice that, but that is dark.
That is some insane.
That is comedically dark. Yes.
And the best part is that the director felt to note it in the commentary because nobody else was picking up on it normally.
Okay. Let me add a note to my my snacks about that. We might have to have that with some light on it above tables, but we'll get there.
I have nothing else for this sequence. This sequence kind of plays out. This is one of the very few times we have some like character development in this movie. Maybe the only time, actually, now that I think about it, because it's like it comes out that Ted Bundy like found out later in his life that his sister was his mother, and the person who he thought was his father was his grandfather, which is a key facet of the Ted Bundy story. And I find it funny that at one point, though, he goes, "Lee, I was a bastard." And she's like, "Don't say that word. It's a horrible word. It should be stricken from the English language."
Yeah, that was very strange to me, especially because there is a very similar scene in one of the Twilight Zone episodes from this year where someone says, you shouldn't say the word crazy. It stigmatizes mental illness. And then watching this, I was like, what is going on? What year is it?
There's weird. Some of like the diction and just the use of words in this seems oddly contemporary.
Yeah, it's a little surprising.
Yes, considering how everything in this movie would be inappropriate in today's day and age.
Oh, big time.
Big time. All right, because after this scene, we have him starting to do his little ploy he uses where he has the cast.
Yes. And do we get one of those scenes before he's at the party where he's on the news or the news is talking about the murders? Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, because what happens is, and this was the point that they took for Buffalo Bill and Silence the Lambs. What Ted Bundy would do is go around in a fake like cast, like drop his books and you're like a woman and be like, "Oh, can you help me to my car with my books?" The woman being like, "Oh, okay." And while they're there, while they're putting his like books in his car, he takes out his little like mini crowbar and thwacks him across the head.
From the wheel well. Like he has his crowbar set up on the tire in the wheel well, like ready to go. Like it's premeditated as fuck.
Like any good serial killer. And like every single time he does this, like it becomes almost like a reoccurring gag. The amount of times he whacks a poor woman across the head with this mini crowbar, it's like, oh my God, like it's a bit. Yep. It's a bit after a while.
Oh yeah,
because after a while you kind of wait for it. Like anytime he like after like what the 7th murder, you're like, okay, how's he gonna whack them across the head this time? And it crescendos into the rape murder montage, which we're slowly getting to, folks. We're getting there.
Oh yeah,
because the next scene after this is the party.
Yes, and Leo Johnson is there for some reason. I thought he was dead after Twin Peaks. Did you notice that, Eric DeRay?
No.
The guy who says, like, "Oh, all these murders in our town. I thought this was a safe community or something." He gets that one line. That is Leo Johnson from Twin Peaks.
How about that?
Yes. So he lived after Wyndham Earl tied him up with that tarantula box. Zack is like, I haven't seen second season of Twin Peaks forever.
I haven't seen the second season of Twin Peaks probably since I discovered the Ted Bundy movie.
So yeah, I thought that was crazy to see him because I've only really seen him in Twin Peaks, I think. But they're at the party. We get that neat little scene where Ted Bundy's like, it's interesting. Like the mindset of serial killers is interesting. And Lee says, I have to disagree with you because that's my character in this movie. And then someone else comes up and is like, I think it's interesting too. And that, of course, leads to their next fight.
Well, okay, but the best part of this scene for me is that like the scene kind of just like immediately pivots from like in the bedroom to I'm sorry, not the bedroom. He thwacks the woman, throws her into the car, then we're at the party. Like we don't see what he does with this woman. That's weird that we're keeping that ambiguous for right now in the film. And it's like, oh, is he just murdering them? Again, some of them just get off murdering, which is not clearly the case with Ted Bundy. But we go straight to the party and we see the little TV news report. And I love how like Ted Bundy immediately says, I didn't do it.
That's right. Wasn't me.
If you're ever at a party or social gathering and someone brings up like a local incident that happened, and if one of your group of one person in your group says the phrase immediately, I didn't do it, you immediately call the police and point them out.
Like place an anonymous tip.
Because if somebody ever says immediately, I didn't do it, good chance they did it. All right. And I want it noted too that once again, the director says during this scene, all true from his confession. I had to stop. It became a Carly Beth. I had to stop writing it down because he kept saying it so much.
Oh my God.
But I do want it known that I didn't pick up on this now until the director's commentary, that the woman that comes up to him is like, Ted, I think that's really cool that you like murdering people. That's the same woman he has sex with in like the prison.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's the same woman.
I was too busy being blown away by the other facets of that scene to make that connection. I think I stood up when that happened.
Rob stood up in his apartment by himself to start applauding. God damn it, movie, you did it again. Throwing me for a loop. Just when you thought there couldn't be more weird sex stuff in this movie, you did it. You surprised me.
Oh, man.
The
next note I have after the party is just, it says, Ted Bundy mocking his victims crying always makes me laugh.
Yes. Well, that's the weird thing, too, about this scene, is that this is another scene that's like, it's so comedic.
Oh,
and it's like he brings this woman who we don't see him like thwack across the head. One of the very few victims in this that doesn't get thwacked across the head on screen. And like he brings her, dumps her in the woods, and starts like monologuing at her.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
What do you want?
I just want you to listen to me. Pay me a little bit of attention. See, girls like you, they don't pay attention to guys like me. Guys who don't come from good families. We don't go to top schools or drive fancy cars. Shut up and listen! God! Don't get me wrong, I'm not some share the wealth type of pinko creep or something.
Don't do this to me.
In fact, I'm a Republican. I've worked on a number of campaigns, and one day, I'm gonna be governor.
And it's like you look at this, and in the commentary, he goes, this scene, like, oh God, he says, this scene, oh God, where is he? He goes, this scene made us sick.
Okay.
See, I'm glad Rob laughed there. And I'm like, it's like, it just doesn't make any sense though. It's like, it's not that it's comedic, but it feels like our protagonist is venting. And the way he berates her is like almost
childish.
Yes.
It made me think of the scene from Euphoria where Sydney Sweeney's like, I have a boyfriend. And the other guy goes, who do you think you are? You're boring. No one wants to listen to you talk. They just want to fuck you. And it's just, reminded me a lot of that because it's just like childish ranting.
Yeah. And that's just what it is, though. It's just, like, that's the problem, though. It's like, I'm having a hard time even in this, like, breaking it down scene by scene. Because I'm like, oh, there's this scene. Like, you try to describe the scene, like, in the most objective way possible. You're like, oh, Ted Bundy kidnaps a woman. She's tied up. She's begging for her life. He's monologuing about why he hates women because they've, like, rejected him his entire life. Mm-hmm. Which wasn't true at all because Ted Bundy always had tons of girlfriends. So I don't get how that's factual, but that's neither here nor there. And yet you're trying to describe the scene. Then you feel like, I conclude it with, oh, this scene's hysterical. And I feel like a bad person for saying that because it's like there's so much going on in this sequence on like a visual and auditory level. Because like even how the scene is like the scene is shot. Like we have the scene is shot by lit by like the car lights, the headlights of the car, and like the camera's like at an angle, obviously it doesn't cast a shadow. And it's like Ted Bundy being like, again, like you said, he's monologuing. And the weird thing is that this is oddly meta. It's the serial killer. This is very Scream-esque. And I wonder maybe this is what the director was going for. Maybe he was trying to make a weird sort of like biopic hybrid with Scream where the killer is very self-aware.
Oh, maybe. We got to interview him. I see what you're saying. It's a really interesting idea, but it's like we would have to go to the source to find out.
That's what I mean, because I'm trying to think now that like it seems like that's what kind of like it's dawning on me right now that like Ted Bundy in this, the character, is very self-aware. And that wasn't a concept in horror movies until Scream. Mm-hmm. The idea of things being meta.
Yeah.
And I wonder, and because again, Scream was one of those things that like really hit the entertainment industry because everything had to be meta after that point.
Yep.
Everything had to have that like, aha, like we're holding up the mirror to ourselves. And I wonder if that's like this is like a really bad version of that, or a very bad, oh good lord, execution of such a concept.
Yeah. Okay, I could see that.
Like, we take meta for granted nowadays because everything is freaking meta.
Well,
but I
yeah.
wonder in like 2001, is this what meta looked like to someone who didn't understand what like fourth wall breaking? It's like because we get that in the film. We have what, Rob? When we get to the rape murder montage, we get diegetic music because Ted Bundy is actually bopping his head along with ba da ba 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 da
Yep.
ba da.
Oh yeah.
And he's doing it like that's meta. Like he's actually grooving along to his own rape murder montage music.
Yep, indeed. It's that's an interesting idea.
All right, because that's the weird thing. So we might have to kind of not fast forward because we're already at like 90 minutes and we're like a third of the way, not even a third of the way into the movie.
My next note I have is yes, Ted Bundy pushing his girlfriend into the water is way less than what she deserves, but still a great moment.
All right, the director had a comment to say about this. Apparently. Once again, he says, Ted actually did that. He threw his girlfriend into the water, except it was a river in rapids, and she got caught up in the current.
Oh, I should have filmed that scene.
Oh, he makes a point of saying that they tried it, but that's like a small retention pond was the best they could do.
Oh, okay.
He did say they wanted to do the actual scene, but they couldn't find one in time.
Okay. So everything in this movie is real or inspired by something real.
Close to it.
Okay.
All right, Rob. And then after this, we have probably one of the greatest scenes of all time, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And I agreed with it in my notes. I have to make sure the makeup is perfect on the things in my apartment set. You're a pretty girl.
Rob.
Yeah, you're a pretty girl.
Rob, I'm going to give you the honor of trying to explain this scene.
All right. So we get, I think it's a panning shot of the interior of Ted Bundy's apartment, what we learn to be Ted Bundy's apartment. I think it pans over to him. Do we see him through a mirror, maybe? Something. So he's at a vanity desk, basically.
Yes.
And he's got his mirror, and he's busting out some lipstick so he can put it on a decapitated woman's head that he has propped up. It's on a stand, isn't it? It's on some type of stand.
Yeah.
Like he found I don't know, like a cake stand, ripped off the flat part for the cake and just jammed a head on the pointy part that was left over to keep it upright. And he's just making sure it looks nice because, as we quickly learn, his girlfriend's coming over. And I know when I have company, I have to make sure that the makeup on my decapitated heads is perfect. And you can never get good decapitated head makeup unless you whisper at them, "You're a pretty girl. Yeah, you're a pretty girl. Yeah, you are. Who's your pretty girl? You're the pretty girl. Yeah, you are." So, pretty girls, heads on makeup. This is totally normal, right?
There's nothing I can add to that description, folks, so I'm going to read from the director's commentary.
Did he say 90% of the same thing?
No, this is one of those times where the director's commentary got very, very dark and weird.
Oh, yes. I'm ready.
Okay, much like the masturbation outside the window scene, Michael Riley Burke asked Matthew Bright. I keep getting it wrong, folks. See, again, mentally, I don't even want to say the name. Much like Carly Beth. Michael Riley Burke asked Matthew Bright and said, "How do you want me to play this scene?" And the director says, and I quote, "Treat it like your cat."
Oh, wow. That's kind of telling of the actor, of Burke.
Uh-huh. And then the director, while this scene is continuing on and he's kissing it, the director says, and imagine the most gross voice ever goes, "Kiss the kitty." It's icky.
Oh
it's icky. He actually says, okay, folks, if you haven't already gone on YouTube and found this movie, we have Ted Bundy putting lipstick on a very clearly decomposing. This isn't decapitated as in he did this a half an hour earlier. This is clearly something that's been lingering around for a couple of weeks, if not a few months. Yeah. And he's putting lipstick on it. And the director's so Michael Riley Burke asked me, "How do you want me to play this scene?" And I told him, treat it like it's your cat. And then we see Michael Burke putting on the makeup and he goes, "Kiss the kitty." And it's ugh. Like, I just started dumping bleach on myself after that. It's like, ugh. Like, that was kind of like, much like the guy outside the apartment dumping cold water on Ted Bundy. That's what it felt like to me. Like, I'm giggling and cackling at this whole commentary. And then, like, moments like that happen, and I'm like, ugh. Ugh, that's so icky.
Yeah, that's some strange stuff.
It's like, I won't bleach. Like, every copy of this movie should come with, like, a gallon of bleach.
Yeah.
Kiss the kitty.
An eye wash.
Yeah. And for your ears, just dump bleach into your ears.
Yes.
You go to your doctor, the doctor's like, I think you have an ear infection. What were you doing? I was dumping bleach in my ears. Why are you doing that?
Sensory deprivation tank, but we take away all the senses. Like, you get a paralyzing agent before we put you in the water.
Yeah, so folks, that's the commentary during that sequence.
Oh, God.
Rob, do you want to describe the next? I'll let Rob describe the scenes, and I'll add my own commentary.
Oh, sure. So then he gets interrupted of his makeup session, I believe, because Lee shows up to his apartment. She's like, oh, it smells terrible in here. And he's like, yeah, stuff smells bad. Bologna sandwiches I left out for a few minutes. That smells as bad as rotting human beings. Whatever. You're stupid, and we need to fuck. So Ted's like, you want to try something new? You want to love me? And she's like, I just want to make you happy, Ted. And then pretty much like a hard cut to her having her wrists and ankles tied to the headboard of his bed. And he's thrusting into her. And, clearly she's not into it. And even if we couldn't get the sense from her facial expression that she's not into it, and I don't think it's just this, like, in the scene she's not into it. She's not into filming the actual scene.
No. She did not look happy.
She even throws in the line, I hope you're having fun because I'm not. And then Ted, of course, comes back with, I mean, what else do you do? Say, can you stop breathing? Can you? And she's like, what? And she's like, can you pretend that you're dead? And she goes, if that's what you want, Ted. And, tries to just close her eyes and roll her head over. And he goes, open your eyes.
Oh, my God. This is so horrible.
Oh, yeah. It's so weird. And she opens her eyes. She's playing dead. And...
Damn it.
I hope you're having fun, because I'm not.
All right. All right, don't talk. Don't move, don't even breathe.
What?
What, you can't pretend that you're dead?
You serious?
Yes, I'm serious. Just give it a fucking try, okay?
Hey, I love you, Ted. And if that's what you want.
I want it. Do it. Okay, open your eyes. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you, bitch.
Ted Bundy continues to thrust into her, clearly more excited now.
Oh,
she's, playing the corpse. And he's, fuck you, bitch. Fuck you, bitch, on every thrust. And I'm like, hell, with the other people, that was weird. What you're doing with the playing dead thing, I definitely think that's weird. But this, your girlfriend, I can't blame him. I think I'd be saying the same thing to her. Like, she's been so terrible to him. I would forego the tying up, forego the playing dead. I would be cursing at her. Like, dirty talk would get real quick with somebody who bothered me that much. So, it's morals. They're subjective.
Oh, good Lord. Yeah, because in this scene, folks, like, she is like cringing, wincing at every thrust. And it's painful to watch. I do want to give the director some brownie points. He does say the line that if a man ever asks you to do something like this, dive out the window. It'll be less like upsetting in the long run. So we'll give him credit for realizing that this was wrong. And clearly this wasn't one of his fetishes, because he makes the point of saying that, going back to the point I said earlier, he wanted a scene of Ted Bundy having committing necrophilia, and the MPAA wouldn't allow it. So he had to resort to having the girlfriend play dead, and that was his way around that.
Okay. I feel like somewhere
creative filmmaking.
Yeah, I feel like there's an interview with Matthew Bright somewhere out there where he's just like, the Twilight series is despicable. How could you tie your partner up like that? Oh, and it's just like, wait, okay, to each his own, I guess.
Yeah. He does say one of the greatest lines ever.
Okay.
He starts talking about the real life girlfriend and like another one of his lines about like, oh, when she found out, she was really upset. And while the scene is going on, this is toward the end of the scene, he turns around with the comment, and keep in mind, folks, Ted Bundy's necrophiliac. Just keep that in mind here. He turns around as the sex scene is concluding. He goes, "Can you imagine the amount of infections she must have had?"
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's fucked, man.
I heard that and I was like shocked, appalled, and started to die of laughter at the same time. That is the most insane observation. That of all the things that should be running through your mind during that, of all the things you should be thinking about during that sequence, that should be toward the bottom.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And I'm like, how on earth do you think that? Never mind, say it out loud.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting the sense of is that, this dude never learned that it's not always okay to like be completely open with your thoughts on sexuality. It's like I feel like people learn that. There's certain boundaries that you don't pass. It seems like he's just all out front and open with it, and that's a little weird.
All right, folks, because like Rob said, this is a very specific turning point in the commentary. Because at this point, it started to, oh Lord, I don't know if devolve would be the correct word, but it started to transform from a director's commentary to more of a stream of consciousness from the id of the filmmaker.
Because the movie also kind of transitions here where it just becomes like murder.
Oh yeah. This time it's like, okay, we're taking our foot off the brake. It's like rape and murder for all.
Yeah, I think this is because the next note I have is when he's at the beach.
Yes,
and he's doing that stuff. Is that before or after he leaves? He tells the girlfriend that he's going to law school in Utah.
Oh, that's after all this.
That's after all this. Okay. So he's still, but I still think this part of the movie with the beach and the shed on the beach. This is kind of where we go from. We're past his origin story, and now it's just full on spree killing.
Oh yeah, it's raping for everybody.
Oh yeah, and then it only slows down when Tom Savini shows up.
Yes.
Is there anything before him showing up to the woman, and he's wearing the cast? Is that how it starts?
No. Yeah, it transitions from the forced sex scene or the play dead for me to the beach.
Okay. So he's on the beach. What we see a woman lying down sunbathing.
Yes.
And he pops up, blocks her sunlight or something like that, and he's like, "Excuse me, can you help me unload my boat? I'm clearly hurt and I can't do anything, but you could help me, right?" And she's like, I don't know, but yeah, I guess so, because plot needs to move along. She's like, okay, I'm just gonna give up on my day at the beach to help you out with your boat. Sure thing. Maybe I'll get to go on a boat. Maybe I won't get killed. Who knows? And they're walking along, and I think the next thing we see is he's going over to his car, and she's like, "Hold up a minute. I thought we were unloading your boat." And he's like, "Yeah, it's down at my my buddy's house or my parents' house or something like that, just down the block. Is that a problem?" And she goes, "No, I guess not," and gets in the car with him. That's the last we see of her for a little bit, right?
Yes, because that's the weird part of this, because this is, I don't know if he had to edit things out. This is where it feels more like an edit than it is. It works brilliantly for what's coming later. I use the word brilliantly in like quotation marks, folks, for the sick, depraved mess that is this movie. But earlier in the scene, like now earlier in this discussion, I mentioned like how he like framed and like planned the sequence of him stealing the potted plant.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Matthew Bright is a somewhat competent filmmaker based partly on Freeway, but also on this. The actress, that's the first one he encounters on the beach, on her left cheek has a horrible brown mole.
Okay.
And he does everything in his power to place the camera in a way in how she gets up and how she looks up at him that we only see the mole once.
Oh, interesting.
He obviously did not like that and saw it as an imperfection. Clearly, Matthew Bright does not like moles. On top of all the other things that he does and does not like, he does not like moles. So if you have a mole on your face, ladies, you're safe for the time being. So the fact that he was able to coordinate this and choreograph the camera shot so well, it kind of adds fuel to the fire that everything that happens in this movie on like a filmmaking technical level is intentional.
Yeah, sure.
That if he was competent enough to frame his shots perfectly that you don't even notice that the actress has a giant mole on her left cheek.
Mm-hmm.
That nothing else here on a technical level is done by accident.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Because, okay, but then going back to the point Rob was saying is that she gets into the car and she's like, whatever. And the next thing we know, like as they're pulling out, the camera pans to the car next to them and we have a guy and a girl, boyfriend and girlfriend, and she's like really bitching it up, right?
Yeah, something like, why'd you make me drive here? Or something like that. Pedantic.
You know what? I hope you're not going to act like this all day.
Well, if you don't start with me, I'll be fine.
Are you on the rag or something?
Shut up!
And so, like, it's weird. And apparently, I'm inferring this based on the commentary that the only reason why this actress was cast was that apparently she was a wrestler in real life.
Okay.
Because later on when Ted Bundy's chasing her through the woods, he goes, I needed somebody that could like fall down and get up easily and wouldn't lose stamina.
Okay.
But apparently her wrestling name was Becky the Farmer's Daughter.
Really?
Yes.
Is this an ex-member of Huckapoo?
we can only hope that an ex-member of Huckapoo.
The farmer's daughter.
And apparently he knew her on a personal level.
Becky the Trick Baby. Now that's a wrestling name.
Because I want it noted too that when this boyfriend and girlfriend and Becky the farmer's daughter are arguing, she's like getting disrobed again, and we get a very clear shot of her turning around as she adjusts her bikini bottoms.
Yes, definitely.
And
she leaves to go to the bathroom or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, to the point where we actually see her butt in one shot. Or like a couple of frames. Mm-hmm. And he says in the commentary, he's like, that was a really tight bikini that day. And it's like, ew, it's like, stop. You're making, like, this is a movie about a serial killer that might be the most, like, exploitative film about a serial killer's exploits.
Yeah.
And the commentary is making it even ickier.
Oh God, that's insane.
Like, I don't know how many layers of just like awfulness there is.
Yeah, that takes it to a whole nother level.
It's like, oh God. And like, think about it too, that like when you make a movie, you usually have more than one take. So think about it. When he was putting this together and he has the shot of Becky the farmer's daughter getting up and she has to adjust her bottoms. It's like he had to choose that take.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There had to be at least one take where she didn't do that. And if there wasn't one take where she didn't do that, that means he made her do it in every take.
Yeah. Yep.
Much like how Rob said before when he had the choice between outside the woman's bedroom. It's like, oh, was it Ted Bundy there every time? Or was it just that it was a very popular spot for perverts across the entire town? It's like, no matter what choice, it's like whatever is correct, we lose.
Yes, definitely. It's not a good outcome either.
No. And it's icky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we have that, like Rob says, like next thing we know, this like the woman Becky the farmer's daughter is about to go into the bedroom, and Ted Bundy's there and says basically like verbatim the exact same thing to her as he said to the blonde woman with the mole. And this is where I think I could have sworn there's like another cut, because we just go from her being like, oh, okay, to like he's carrying her body into the shanty. Right?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Or actually, it's not him carrying. We see the blood like pouring out of like the other woman's like temple.
Yeah, and then the other woman gets thrown onto the floor of the shed. Yep.
Yeah,
and that's when the other woman who's tied up or handcuffed up or whatever sees this, screams at Ted Bundy, and Ted Bundy has one of the greatest mocking screams in return ever.
Oh yes, this like if there was like in awards, like if the Razzies weren't a joke in the sense of like they don't know what they are. Like they'll nominate like performances that are like avant-garde.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't know. Like they'll nominate things that just don't belong getting a Razzie. Like, but if the Razzies were like pure in the sense of like things that are just like horrible, this would be like a top 10 moment for them. Because everything in this scene works and doesn't work at the exact same time.
Oh yeah, big time.
It walks the line in the worst way possible because it's icky, but it's insanely comical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wonder, Rob, like I know I forget the exact quote that John Waters said. Like I think John Waters said like he's the king of like, oh God, like inappropriate things.
Something like that, yeah.
And I know we've talked about it a couple of times, like showing. What were we talking about a couple of months ago? We were talking about like showing something to like a filmmaker. What was it? Was it Vox Lux or Dead Alive? Like what would it be like if we showed a filmmaker?
Yeah, something like that.
We were mentioning something like that, and I wondered while I was watching this. I'm like, what would someone like John Waters say to this? Would he look at this like? I think like in all honesty, we are on the same level as like John Waters, where it's like, like we realize these things are horrible, but we can appreciate like the sheer like creativity and the absurdism that's present in it. And I wonder, would someone like John Waters look at this and just be like, this is a mess? Like there's nothing like that's like as weird as it may sound, John Waters is the Cinemoddities litmus test.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, Rob, how much grant money do we need to get John Waters?
Probably a lot, right?
I don't know. What's John Waters up to?
Does he want to do anything? Yeah, I don't know. Does he want to do anything like this?
I don't think he has to do anything. He doesn't want to. But like, I wonder. It's like, dear Mr. Waters, we run a third-rate movie podcast.
Restaurant.
We run a third-rate podcast and restaurant. And we need your opinion on something being horrible but still being amusing, yet something being horrible yet still being in poor taste.
Oh yeah. Are you intrigued?
I wonder like he must have like a fan club or something. Like he can't be like somebody who lives exclusively on social media.
Yeah, I would believe so.
How much grant money do we need to go to Baltimore, Maryland, just track him down? Like there's got to be some like clubs that he hangs out at like at least a couple times a month.
Grant proposal, locate John Waters.
Then show him things that he doesn't want to look at.
Oh, right on.
All right. But yeah, Rob, this sequence, I know this is probably your favorite sequence in the entire, favorite in quotation marks.
Oh yeah, this is like I mentioned before, this is the one that stuck out to me, is seeing it in Zack's room way back in the day. So yeah, it's just, I was waiting for it, and I really like that, this is, as we said, our transition into the kind of the killing spree aspect of this movie, because I think this is where my notes get a little more sparse, because it's just like, okay, crowbar on the hitchhiker, montage, woman gets away, montage but with Christmas music, killing, Bundy's loose.
Yeah, at that point, it kind of just, it falls apart. Not that it falls apart, but it's not really cohesive anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But to go back to the point I was saying earlier about the director's fetish of like shooting women is like from like, oh God, from like the ground up toward their like bottoms. That happens a lot while he's chasing her.
Oh yeah, definitely. It
happens a lot.
Where I was like, wow, I was definitely like, they really want to show off this woman's ass.
But like, it doesn't feel like, like when you're making a biopic about a serial killer, there should be nothing sexy about that.
Exactly. It should all be painted in that, especially a scene like this, the fear of the victim and the impact that this villain has.
Yeah, because even there's a point, like after we've seen her numerous times, like slip and fall, and we keep getting like ass shots, and it's always from the same angle. It never, like, it's always shot from that same, like, oh good Lord, like, I would say, like, it's weird because like Ted Bundy's supposed to be like in like 6 foot, like 3 or 4, and yet the camera is kind of like almost at like, oh good Lord, like abdomen level every time she falls.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
So icky. But then eventually, and the scene goes on for a while of her chasing her, just the same thing over and over again.
Yep,
just the
definitely
same shots.
Like the awkwardness builds exponentially with how long it goes on.
Yeah. And then eventually she falls, and she like falls and trips into a clearing where we see like a decomposing previous victim, like kind of, oh good Lord, how'd you even kind of like describe it? Like she's like her rear end's up in the air, clearly because he just got done pleasuring himself to her.
Yeah.
And it's like a decomposing body, and the woman sees it, Becky sees it and screams, and he thwacks her across the head. And next thing we know, we're back into the little like shanty.
Yep.
And we have maybe like, even like as much as Rob and I love this film on a comedic level, we have probably the most disturbing scene in the movie where we see a man raping a woman while another woman is tied up and has to watch.
Yeah, and he is like making eye contact with the one who's conscious and
both of
tied
them.
up, and
With
both of them. Oh, and it's just like,
And the woman, the other one, Becky, she's on the floor like awake while it's happening.
yep. Oh yeah. It's pretty dirty.
It's like it's you're making a Ted Bundy biopic, yet it's almost too. I get it, but like it's too raw almost.
Yeah, and I think it's almost amplified when because we have so much comedic stuff that when we do get this awkward and dark imagery and scenery, it's kind of like hammers it home even more that it's that gross and weird.
Yeah. Because during this sequence, he has a couple of things he says. He describes the sequence as vile. He says, this is a vile scene. He goes on to say, we tried to do this tastefully, but how? It's a horror movie.
Sure.
Okay, I'm not one to tell Mr. Bright how to make movies, but I would imagine as bad as it is to have a scene where a woman is raped, there's ways to do it that aren't as icky as having your rapist make eye contact with two women.
Yeah, there had to be some way to improve this.
Yes. But he does say earlier when Becky trips and sees the decomposing corpse, he says this factoid about Ted Bundy, and I don't know how he found out about this, but who am I? He goes, Ted likes his women most decomposed. 2 months to a year.
Oh God. Oh my God. The bleach.
I'm not laughing at if that's true or not. It's just like, imagine saying that.
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like you did that, man. You did that in your life. You said that sentence. You had to learn that or make it up. You had to do something to get it in your brain, and then saying it like, no, stop it. Get the spray bottle. We haven't had the spray bottle of battery acid in a while. No. This is something, he's a dude worthy of taking it right to the face.
I forgot about that. The battery acid
been a long time. Yeah, absolutely.
I like that. We're bringing it back. Rob and I finally get an interview with Matthew Bright, and we're like, you know what? It's on the table. We let him know, like, this is there just in case. We don't trust you, man.
That's great.
I feel like this episode is kind of like the Elves episode, where like we couldn't. Part of the reason why we couldn't release it because I thought the audio was bad. The other half was us talking about it. I was afraid that a library might hear us talk about it. I'm like, Rob, we can't have this out there. Someone might hear us talking about it. And this feels like that. If Matthew Bright ever hears this conversation, it's like, oh, so like you talk about my movie? Yeah. Oh, what you have to say? Well, we called you a pervert for most of it.
Fucked up, man.
We're not sure if we want to talk to you. If we do, we want a bottle of battery acid on the table at any given moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So this scene goes on, and to the point where like we don't see what happens to the blonde mole woman. The scene kind of just transitions from the shanty rapes to Ted Bundy saying goodbye to his girlfriend.
Yep, and that starts the true spree. At
Yes,
least from the history books perspective. Yep,
with a capital S.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
It's
in the same font as the name of the candy. Spree.
All right. So anything about Ted Bundy saying goodbye to his girlfriend?
No, I don't think so. I'm glad we get less of her throughout the rest of the movie. So no, everything's overshadowed by the hitchhiker kill.
Oh boy. All right. So we have, folks, the greatest scene in cinematic history. That is not an exaggeration. This is an important sequence in cinematic history. Rob, how much grant money do we need to figure out how to hack the Super Bowl satellites?
Probably not as much grant money as we would think, but the grant money would also have to come from China.
Oh my God. This is the sequence that will always be burned indelibly in my brain. And it kind of feels bad after all I've laid out about this movie to talk about a moment as if it's great. Because this sequence, how it begins is we go from having like two detectives talking about like encountering the shanty where he raped and murdered the other two women. And they're like, all we found was bones. Like we couldn't find any bodies or any flesh. And so we cut to a woman like doing the classic like Tex Avery, like she has her like leg up on the side of the road with her thumb out hitchhiking. And but before this happens, as the scene is transitioning from like we couldn't find anything but just bones, and it's like multiple bones, we have this very lively, and again, Rob, you're the musician here. How would you describe it? It's like an up-tempo, I don't want to say theme, but like it's a melody, right?
Yeah, it's definitely, like they're trying to throw in a catchy tune almost at this part of the film.
Exactly. It's an up-tempo tune that we're hearing as it transitions from like this horrible revelation that like, oh, there's multiple body remains out here to, it says like what, Utah 1976?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm trying to get the exact time thing. Okay.
Maybe a little earlier or something like that.
Whatever. All right. It says Salt Lake City, 1975. We see Ted Bundy cruising down the road in his little yellow VW Bug as this woman's hitching. She gets into the car, and we get the perfect, small talk banter of like, she's like, well, we'll start the whole clip here.
Thanks for the ride. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Where are you headed?
Silver Canyon. How about you?
Me too. Are you from around here?
Nah. Holy shit. Look at that.
Are you from around here? No. Where are you heading? Silver Canyon. Oh. It's like, holy shit. What's that? And then it has possibly the greatest Foley sound effect in human history.
Holy shit. Look at that.
It's perfect.
It's the thwack.
Yes. Oh, it's amazing. Everything, the timing of this scene, it's glorious.
Okay, folks. Oh, God, guys, I got to choose my diction very carefully now.
Even the way he says it, there's like a pause in the conversation. He looks, past her in the passenger's direction, and he says like, holy shit, look at that. And it's like it starts off quiet, it gets louder to grab her attention. Oh, it's perfect.
Oh my God! How do I describe this? Like I've remembered this scene forever, yet now I'm at a loss for words. Like I really do. I really am. Like we have that. He thwacks her across the head, and we cut to the montage of ba da ba 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 ba, and we see him like throw like a topless corpse down like into the woods. We then cut to clearly, I think if there's any smoking gun that this is designed as a comedy, we have him in his car and he's actually like bopping his head along with the music, and he's doing like the duck lips thing with his mouth, and while he's bopping around to like the up-tempo tune, out of nowhere, like how it begins, he's in his car, what looks like by himself. And then as the scene plays on for like 5 seconds, a woman like bops her head up screaming. And then we cut back to was Ted at CSSC. And then we cut back and he once again thwacks a different woman across the head with the mini crowbar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And this continues with all this like, oh God, like all these, I guess it's all, I think he says in the commentary, this is all like real, like, footage and like newspaper clippings of sketch artists things of like what this person looked like or what Ted Bundy looked like. And the whole time as this rape and murder montage is going on, we have the up-tempo melody and we have the Ted Bundy rape and murder war cry of F you bitch, ah. Yep. It's F you bitch, ah. And while this is all going on, we have this. And during this montage, which might be the most amazing and disturbing part in all of this, was while it's going on, we have twice interjected into the montage a real I've never found it, so I don't know how true it is. What the director claims is a real life snapshot of Ted Bundy doing a mid-air jump with 2 thumbs up.
I did some digging into that too, and I couldn't find the picture either. Interesting.
No. And again, interspersed with all this as well. Well, this is very dense, like 2 minutes of cinema, folks.
Yes.
Like this is one of the most complex sequences in the annals of American cinema. Like Rob said earlier, we have an Indiana Jones-esque map where we have blood splatters of like kind of like pinpoints on the map of Salt Lake City and the surrounding towns of where Ted Bundy was raping and murdering women. And while this is happening, that every time we get a blood splatter pinpoint, we get him punching a woman in unison.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
like,
man.
The amount of coordination and synchronization going on during this sequence is astounding. Like, this is one of those moments that I'd love to know. Forget Matthew Bright. I want to talk to the editor and be like, why didn't you call the police when he was making this?
Yes.
Be like,
how did this not set off any red flags?
How did a producer not be like, we can't have this in the movie? Like, we've talked about incomprehensible movies before where you're the producer and you're watching something for the first time being like, oh, Jesus Christ, he killed us. Like, how, this has to be one of those moments. How did the producers sign off on this?
Yeah, I don't know.
How does anybody in their right mind?
How did this get made? Yeah.
That's the ultimate question. That's one of these. Like, how did any of this? Because at one point, too, we even get like a decomposed corpse with its like hands like shriveled up, like kind of like almost, I don't want to say, oh God, like kind of like a claw motion. And then we have a moment where Ted Bundy's like laying on a log under like a blanket with 2 decomposing corpses next to him.
Oh,
like,
yeah. The only thing he needed was smoking a cigarette in that scene.
He is smoking a cigarette.
Okay, perfect. I thought I was misremembering that. Fantastic.
And then it's interject with some more F you bitch, like it's genuinely like it's in its most pure form, stripping away the ickiness and awfulness of the reality of the situation of what's supposed to be going on in the sequence. Mm-hmm. It's art. That's art.
Goofiness. Yep. Yeah, and there's a lot of effort put into it, and so yeah, it's something to behold.
It really is. Like, maybe my comment about the Super Bowl might not happen. There should be at the Cinemoddities restaurant, or maybe like the Museum of Modern Art, there should be like a monitor, and that sequence is on loop.
Perfect.
People look at this like, this is disgusting, but I can't look away.
Nice.
It's ugly and brutish, but I can't look away. All right, Rob. So after that scene, that is the high point for Ted Bundy. He's living the dream, or at least his dream, where he's going around raping everybody to an up-tempo melody. But unfortunately, his world comes crashing down.
Yeah, that's my next note, where he convinces some woman that he's a cop, that she has to get into his car and they have to drive away, and she realizes something's up way too late. Like, he has to lie to her like 20 times in a row before she's like, maybe there's something shady going on. But she fights with him. He pulls over. She is able to get free and jump out of the car. Thankfully, there's another car coming the opposite direction that she flags down and jumps into. And a story that we don't get to see, that's another rapist's car. No, but so while I was watching this, I think this goes to the what I was saying before, where I was seeing this and it was kind of like, I was still in the throes of not being fully reminded of that this was reality yet. It still had a lot of that goofiness in it at this point. And the thing that I thought of, where it's like, imagine if you're driving down the highway and you see a car pulled off on some side of the road, and you see like a woman running away and a man kind of standing there, and the woman just gets in your car and presumably screams like, go drive, get away from that person. That's a pretty good way to set up a crime, right? Because if you're that woman and you have a gun, you'd be like, oh my God, drive, go, go, go. And no, you just like, pull over, motherfucker. And then the guy catches up in his car, and it's like, you got a robbery right there. There's so many layers of crimes that this movie's telling us about.
I know, there's a lot going on here. I want to know
did that actually happen? I think I read that. That's how
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, she was able to free him from his car or something along those lines.
Yes. I want it known that he once again hired another wrestler for the role of not Mila Kunis.
This one definitely looked a little more wrestler-like, I would say.
Yes, she's bulkier.
Yes.
Her wrestling name, stage name was Madison the Rich Bitch.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Cool.
She's the foil to Becky the farmer's daughter?
Yes. All right. Apparently, in this sequence, when she escaped...
City wrestler and country wrestler.
Apparently, during the sequence where she gets out of the car and runs in front of the other one, and the car kind of like swerves and slides, apparently that was not like on purpose. She almost got hit by the car.
Oh, okay.
Whoever is, apparently she either missed her mark, like in the road, and so the stuntman had to like swerve around her.
Oh, interesting.
So,
I definitely noticed that. That I was like, did this dude, was he not paying attention to the road?
Yeah, apparently Madison the Rich Bitch almost got clipped.
Okay.
And not by Ted Bundy. And then at some point, I don't even remember the context of this, was during this sequence of her in the car with him, the director starts talking. He says, I don't know if anyone's ever gotten into a car with a pervert before.
What?
He's giving his own like hitchhiking like stories, and he begins it by saying, I don't know if anyone's ever got into a car with a pervert before.
What the hell what does it even mean? I don't get it, Zach, at all.
Yeah, I don't have much for this scene. This scene, it's not as comical as you would imagine. Is Ted Bundy like finally like somebody like slipping through his grasp? You think it would be much more humorous? Yeah, it's not portrayed once again. Ted Bundy's the protagonist. The scene is conveyed as, Ted let one get away.
Yeah, and they do have the scene where he gets back in his car and he's like angry at himself.
Yeah,
he's like, you got to get your shit together, Ted.
Yeah, it's weird. Like every time Ted Bundy screws up, it's sold as like a mistake. It's not been like, it's like he's finally slipping up. He's gonna get caught. It's like you should be rooting for him to evade these sort of dangers.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's this movie's weird, folks. I don't know who the hero is. And then after that is what the cheerleader scene, right?
Yeah, I think that is the one we get right before our next montage. I think.
Yes.
That whole scene was where it really started to hit me, where I was like, this is creepy. This is like, because she's like, oh, I'm just this little girl type of thing, and he's like, when I first saw you, turned me on, and she's like, just because I'm young doesn't mean I'm not ready to fuck you, Ted Bundy. And I was like, whoa, like this is insane.
Yeah, like there's a lot of that, and we'll insert all the audio in here, folks.
It's so creepy. It's so skeevy.
Oh, it gets even skeevier in the commentary. As it begins, he says the line. He goes, "Oh, this actress, I love this girl, the ultimate jailbait."
Oh my god! Oh my god!
It's really gross and icky. And he's like, "I don't remember her name though, but I love this girl. She was the ultimate jailbait."
I don't remember that. I don't remember her name, but I'd remember that upskirt anywhere.
And then the worst part is after like Ted Bundy and her like bicker back and forth, when she walks away to her car, and Ted Bundy goes over with his little like mini crowbar. After he whacks her in the head a couple of times, he turns around. The director says in the commentary, "What a waste."
Oh Jesus. Oh my god.
It's so icky. It's so icky.
That's gnarly, man.
Yeah. And then after that, we get the Christmas sequences.
Oh yeah, another killing montage with some weird upbeat Christmas music. It's not as catchy as our previous tune, but it still sets the tone terribly. And then this leads into him getting caught the first time. Yes?
Well, I want to bring up some interesting facts about the Christmas sequence.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because we have him with, again, he's at Christmas morning with Lee. He's buying the daughter all sorts of presents. And then out of nowhere, like we see him like, oh God, I don't even know how to describe it. Like the sequence like transitions from Christmas morning to like a random hotel like floor, and it's a woman like walking down a hallway. It's just like Pinewood Ski Resort, 1976.
Yep.
And she's just walking down the hallway, and she sees like in silhouette, we see a man like collapse on the floor. She's like, "Mister, are you okay?" And he's like pretending to like either have a heart attack or some medical condition.
Mm-hmm.
And she like goes up to him, she's like, "Mister, are you okay?" And like as she's like asking if he's okay, he like takes out like a small rope, puts it around her neck, and starts to choke her.
Yep.
And the scene just ends.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's it.
And there's nothing. We don't see anything else. And the interesting thing was apparently, one of the many interesting things is that while this scene is all going on, we still have the Christmas music playing.
Yes, it never slows down during the montage. It's full focused.
It's like the editor forgot to turn the Christmas music off at the Christmas scene.
Yes, there you go.
And apparently, during the sequence where he's choking the woman, the actress, apparently Michael Riley Burke, choked her so badly it like damaged her larynx. Where the next movie that the actress was scheduled to be on, she had to drop out of the production. And according to the director, and apparently this director is friends with Danny Elfman, the producer. He's like childhood friends with them.
Okay.
Danny Elfman and his brother. And apparently the project that this actress was working on was for Danny Elfman's brother. And that was the only reason why Matthew Bright wasn't sued for hurting the actress.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's insane.
This movie's so weird, folks.
Yeah, there's so many layers to this.
This movie is so weird. Then we had the thing where Ted Bundy is getting chased down by a cop car. I don't really have anything to say about that other than he tries to like outrun the cop. And,
yeah.
Like after like 10 miles, he finally jumps out and the cop's like, "Get on the ground, asshole."
Yep.
And then we get to folks.
Tom Savini,
detective, and maybe not at its surface level the most icky part of the movie, but certainly in the commentary it's the worst.
How do you want to do this, Zach? Do we even want to repeat it? Do you just want to play the audio? Do we set the stage and play the audio? How do we reduce our liability?
All right, folks. I'm going to describe the sequence in the film, and then I'm going to explain to you what is said in the director's commentary. Then we're going to insert the audio of the director's commentary. And because I don't want to have to listen to this again, I'm going to give Rob the audio time of where he can go in to edit this. It is the 58-minute and 43-second mark. It's right around there, give or take 5 or 10 seconds.
Okay.
Make note of it, Rob, when you're editing. The scene begins. We have Tom Savini, legendary special effects makeup artist. He plays a detective who's interviewing Ted Bundy or interrogating him, asking Ted, like, why do you have a rape kit in your car? And Ted Bundy's like, it's normal to have like an ice pick, mini crowbar, a black mask, a black ski mask with the mouth hole and eye holes cut out. That's not bizarre at all. And Tom Savini's asking him like these things like, oh, like we think you're connected to some crimes here. And he starts like rattling off names of like the victims of all the other like bodies they found. Mm-hmm. And he's like giving out all these names. Decent scene. I think it's a solid scene. I think anybody in this movie, Tom Savini's probably giving one of the more convincing performances that's not like cringe-inducing or embarrassing or inappropriate.
Yeah, and this is one of the first scenes where, you know, it's Ted Bundy having to face his crimes, which is, you know, an important part of this story.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. He's being held accountable for the first time. It's a transition point in the narrative. So while this is happening, I'm listening to the commentary. And like real quick, when Tom Savini's reading off all the names, the director says, "Oh, I didn't use the real like victims' names because I didn't want to highlight the families and the survivors of the victims." He goes, "I hope they never see this movie because I can't imagine what it would do to them." And as I'm writing this down, he continues to speak. He goes, "So instead of using the real victims' names, I use the names of every women I've been intimate with over the years." And I go, what? As that happened, I literally cocked my head to the side, made a squinty face, and went, "What?" And before I had a chance to even put my pen to the paper to write that down, he literally, after every single time Tom Savini says a name. He goes 7th grade, 8th grade, 8th grade,
Oh my.
9th grade. And at that point, folks, I'm not making it up, I could not stop laughing. I was dying laughing so bad. I had to pause the movie. I had to get up, like get a drink of water, use the bathroom. I could not stop laughing at this to the point where I got back and I had to turn the commentary off. At that point, I was broken.
I didn't use any of the names of the victims, the real victims in the film. I didn't want any of the families, hearing the names. And I would hope that none of the families would go see this film either.
You're wasting your time, but if it'll make you happy, go ahead.
So I used the names of every girl I ever was intimate with in my entire life from junior high school on. Here's the list.
Just shut up. Okay, Ted. Listen. Barbara Vincennes.
Yep.
Karen Stills.
8th grade.
Suzanne Welch.
8th grade.
Karen Parks.
High school.
Patricia Garber.
Oh, yeah.
Miriam Cutler. Sean Rendell.
I was not with Miriam Cutler.
Melissa Smith. Wendy Fitz. Anita Minton.
Or Wendy Fitz.
Stephanie Markson. Ellen Carter. Betsy Walter.
Yep.
Lynn Adams. You never heard of any of these women?
Some of the women I wanted to.
Look, I don't like the tone of your voice.
Matthew Bright broke me. That broke me. That is bonkers. Like, in all honesty, on Cinemoddities, we've talked about a lot of weird stuff, both when it comes to the films themselves and like the context. Being the connoisseurs of context, Rob and I, we've digested a lot of strange stories. That might be the strangest.
Oh, yeah, that is such a, like what I was saying before, where it seems like he is just so open and okay with discussing his sexuality, his sexual experiences, his fetishes, and this is just like the cherry on the top of the cake for that, right? Because it's so not okay.
It's
One,
not.
No one wants to hear that. Two, what does he think that will add to the movie as we're watching it?
You know what the sad thing is? Okay, not the sad thing. You know what the part that kind of just like astounds me is like the idea of actually being like, okay, I'm not going to use the real victims' names. Like, okay, that's admirable.
Sure, yeah, no problem with that.
It's the idea that like, okay, what am I going to use for women's names? Instead of just like pulling a bunch of names out of a hat and being like, oh, Ashley Johnson, Samantha Stevens, Rebecca Davies. I'm going to sit there, think of every woman I've had a sexual conquest with, and I'm going to use those names.
Oh, God.
That's strange in and of itself.
Yep.
But the part that makes it the worst, and the part that I think we've talked about it a few times on here. We're like, oh, it's so bad, it's good. Like, especially where it's like you have things that are just so like abnormal and bizarre. Something like Men, Women, and Children, where you have the idea of like, oh God, what's her name? Emma Thompson saying like, oh, I would have blanked that bitch if I could have found the hole. And it's like that, that is horrible. And yet somehow it's so horrible, it bends its way all the way over to good somehow. Because like, oh, you have Academy Award like winner Emma Thompson reading the most trashy dialogue ever.
Mm-hmm.
The part that makes this go from so bad to good and then go all the way from good to bad again is the part where he starts using names of people he had sexual encounters with when he was a minor.
Yes. Overshot it there.
He overshot it a while ago.
Oh yeah, it's still going.
Like, why? It's like, why did you have this idea to begin with?
Yep, I feel the same way. It's just like, come on, why did you think this was in any way, shape, or form good thing to do? Maybe not a good thing, maybe something he felt he should do. And then why even explain it in the commentary? Why? This is something you keep to yourself.
Rob, I'm really tempted to go to the IMDb trivia page and include all of this.
Oh, that'd be funny. That'd be
What
funny.
you did, if it weren't for the fact, again, I'm not going to do it because I'm not a bad human being, but imagine writing that, like, oh, all the victims' names that Tom Savini's detective reads off were the sexual encounters of the director Matthew Bright, and you list all the names: Rebecca Davies, 7th grade; Amanda Johnson, 8th grade. Can you, and like, it's trivia.
Oh God, yeah.
How, and when you were making, like, I don't know what studio made this or what produced. Again, it wasn't a studio. It's an independent film. But like, if you're the producers and like you're releasing a DVD, how do you include that?
I know. Yeah. I have no clue, because it makes me think. You were saying before that there were points in the commentary where he doesn't speak for a while. And I was kind of thinking, in the back of my head, maybe there was some stuff he was saying that was so egregiously bad they had to cut it out. But clearly not. Clearly they did not cut anything out, because I can't imagine what would have to be cut out past something like this. Other than, if it was someone, it was just like, oh, he said a curse word or a word that, we don't like, so we're just going to remove it type of thing. This is terrible. There's no curses in here, what he's saying, from what you've told me, Zach. It's just pure being a bad person.
It's just like, it's not, it doesn't come across as malevolent. It just comes like, it's, I don't want to say it's disturbing. It's just like spellbounding. That's kind of thing where it's like, like I heard this, and don't get me wrong, I am a cynical, snarky person, and I heard that, and I couldn't get over the shock of that. I just kept laughing. And I do find it hysterical that, like, oh my God, he actually did this.
Yeah, it is baffling, spellbinding. It's mystifying, so many things. It's just like, this is a true. It's interesting to know, Zach, that after all we've seen in our lives, all we've discussed on this podcast, that things can still baffle us. It's refreshing sometimes. Yeah, even though this isn't the greatest topic for it, it's still refreshing.
No, it's not. I don't know, folks. You heard it too at this point. So, what's the old saying? Misery enjoys company, and the other one, your suffering will be legendary.
Yes. We're going to hell anyway. We're going to travel first class.
Yuck. So after that, though, like, we do get some more like sequences, though, but it's mostly the comedic shenanigans of it all kind of decrease at this point.
Yeah, this is where everything's kind of starts to die down. And even the next note I have is once again about his girlfriend, because Lee visits him in prison, and she's like, Lee, she says, Ted, I've missed you so much. And then he's like, oh, they don't have anything on me. I'm going to be out in no time. Don't worry. I'm going to see you and the weird kid that I've never named this whole movie. And then out of nowhere, Lee's like, are you cheating on me in prison? And I'm like, oh, fuck, again? Like, can she just go away? But I have to be fair. It sets up one of the most amazing scenes that that blew me away, because I didn't know what was going on for a while.
Yeah, it's oh good Lord, it's I don't even know how to describe that sequence.
I think my notes are a little out of order, because I have my next note after this is about his first escape scene, but doesn't the prison sex happen before that?
No, that happens the second time he's incarcerated.
So that's in his second lockup. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Before his third lockup.
Yes. Okay, that's in my, because my notes go from, like, I don't have the timeline, so in my notes it's like things about him escaping, things about him back in jail, things about him not being in jail, things about him back in jail, and I'm just like, what the hell? Okay, so yeah, that's coming up. He has to escape first.
In the spreadsheet, there needs to be a timeline, the Ted Bundy film timeline, where we have all these.
Now that I think ever since Zack sent me like the trailers for Terminator Dark Fate, and I've watched him on YouTube, it's recommended me videos like the Terminator timeline explained, and it's a 20-minute video. We need that. The Ted Bundy movie timeline explained. And it's like, Ted Bundy's timeline? No. The timeline of the film.
Because we do have because again, in real life, he was captured 3 times, escaped twice. And at one point, before we get to the greatest sex scene in cinematic history, we get a sequence where Lee has a nightmare about Ted Bundy showing up with a machete to kill her with his shirt off.
I forgot about that. Okay.
Like, that's one of those dream sequences. I remember watching it. I'm like, what is this from? I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like she's like freaking out in bed. He shows up with like a machete. He's gonna go all Jason Voorhees on her. Then she wakes up like screaming, and that's it.
Yep, absolutely.
And I like it during the montage of her of once he escapes the first time from prison, we get like all these different like local news affiliates being like, "Oh, where's Ted Bundy gone?"
Mm-hmm.
And then we get one picture of a guy holding up like a piece of paper that says, "I am not Ted Bundy."
Oh yeah. Yep, whatever that craze was.
I want everybody to do, like, whether it be Snapchat or your Instagram, anytime you have a chance to put a caption right, "I am not Ted Bundy."
I am not Ted. That's going to be my Halloween costume this year. Just a sign around my neck that says, "I am not Ted Bundy." And they're going to be like, "Who are you?" And I'll be like, "Not Ted Bundy."
So are we ready to delve into the greatest sex scene ever put to celluloid?
I think so. I did want to highlight that after Bundy's first escape, when he like jumps out the window of the library and he's running down the street, we get the great voiceover of like what I imagine is a guard on his walkie-talkie, and he says, "Bundy's loose. I repeat, Bundy's loose."
Bundy's loose. I repeat, Bundy's loose. Bundy's loose.
I really like that.
Oh boy, yeah. There's some fun. Like he's saying, he like convinces the guard to let him have his shackles.
Yeah, because while he's working on his own defense, he can go to like the prison library, and for some reason, the guard is like, "Yeah," he's like, "I'm not gay, Ted Bundy, but you're a pretty good-looking dude and you're charming, so I'm gonna leave you alone for 5 minutes." Wink, wink. And he's like, "I'm gonna come back with the champagne," and guard comes back. Bundy's gone. Guard's all upset. He didn't get a chance to get raped. But yes, he gets caught again. Somehow. I don't remember exactly how he gets caught. But
no, it's outside like a restaurant, and the cop car just pulls up, and it's like,
oh yeah, he's trying
Bundy.
He's trying to break into a car, and the cop rolls up and goes, "Hey, Ted Bundy," and that's just like cuts to him back in prison. But yeah, we have to talk about this sex scene. I thought like something was going wrong with my TV or my electronics, because the scene starts with just a very calm, open area prison visitor room, right? I would say. Like it's visitor status.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not like the booths where you have the phone and you have to talk to people through the glass. It's like the open area stuff when they needed like some really big shit to go down in Oz. They would for some reason be like, "Okay, everybody gets to visit their loved ones together today." And I don't know how the prison system works, thankfully, I guess. So I don't know why they were doing this. But it starts with everybody just kind of, doing their own thing. Everybody's at their own tables, talking to their visitors. And we're just hearing straight porn audio over it. Like full volume porn audio. And that's where I'm like, wait, what? Like, did somebody like start a porn video? And like the audio got mixed incorrectly? And it took me a few edits or cuts in the actual scene to realize that Ted Bundy is incredibly loudly fucking somebody while standing behind a hefty guard and 2 vending machines, or what, a vending machine and the payphone, I think.
Yes.
And it took me some time to realize this, because once I realized what I'm hearing, I'm like, okay, and they show it, I'm like, okay, he's fucking this bitch just out in the open. And it took me additional edits or additional cuts for me to realize that he was behind the obese guard. And once it all comes together, I think that's when I stood up and I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Because at the very end of it, they both like orgasm and they start to put their clothes back on, pull their pants up. And they're like, "Oh my God. Oh, that was the best, Ted. You're so fucking hot, Ted." And he hands the bribe. He bribes the guard. He slips some money. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like... And so that's at the point where I was like, did this actually happen? And apparently, according to the director, this did happen. But I could not find like anything I was happy with saying that this definitively occurred at one point. But if it did, like, yo, Ted Bundy's a terrible person. Ted Bundy's like way up there with the evilest people ever, from my own opinion and what I've read. But that is some big dick energy, man. That might be the biggest dick energy. To fuck somebody that loud in a public place and be able to
with
bribe
children
the guards.
and children,
Yes.
other people. Yep.
And nobody seems to care about it. That is crazy. Like, we are glad that we caught Ted Bundy and killed him in the electric chair, because if he went like on the loose any more years, he probably would have become like the ruler of a small country somewhere. Like that, you have to be so charismatic to be able to pull something like this off. This scene blew my damn mind.
Yeah, it's I had completely forgotten about that sequence when I rewatched it for this viewing. And because again, to be fair, like it's mesmerizing, but not as like, oh good lord, it's not as spectacle laden as the montage, the rape and murder montage.
Definitely, it's more of a reveal type of scene, if anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And the fact that like, you see the kids and stuff, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, what the hell's going on? And then it dawned on me. I'm like, oh yeah, that happens in this. And and then like even the performance by the actress, like she's like we talked about Lee earlier during like the submission sequence sex scene, and she does not look happy as an actress. This actress is like, you know what, I'm game. Like much like maybe if this was a real person, like, you know what, I'm game for getting banged between the vending machines.
Yes. Oh god, it's insane.
She seems to be in ecstasy.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Well done, actress.
They're having a great time.
Oh yeah, as great a time as one can have having sex in like the prison community room. And the part that always baffles me is that, like, I love like how the guard will take bribes for them having like sex in an open area. Yet the guard's like, Ted, your time is up.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's like, come on, we got to go. And I thought that too at first, but then I thought to myself, what if that's part of the bribe? What if Ted Bundy says to the guard, hey, I'm going to pay you, let us fuck, and then quickly get me back to the cell because I don't want to talk to her. I just want to fuck her. Like, this is where the movie was really hitting or firing on all cylinders for me, where he's like, he's just a bad dude. Like, he was looking for his next way to escape at this point and just needed to just not fuck men in prison. He needed to fuck this woman in this open area.
Yes. And it's worth noting that she did something that Lee wouldn't do, from behind.
Exactly. I guess that's non-regular.
This is what love feels like.
Yes, absolutely. The next note I have is about the sorority house. So I know that skips over his whole second escape. But what, doesn't he like climb through something or something like that?
He does something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, my next note, I was completely enthralled by the fact that, you know, he's at that bar and he says something stupid. Like some woman's like, I'm studying pre-law. And he goes, I think that's a waste of time. And she leaves and he follows him. And I was completely mesmerized by an extended scene of two sorority sisters jumping on their bed, having a half-naked pillow fight. Because at this point, this is the point where I was almost firmly like, wow, Ted Bundy was a monster, and I've been rooting for a monster. And then they throw this back in there. And I'm like, okay, movie, I'm feeling a little nauseous. You're giving me motion sickness, you know? And I'm glad you remembered this scene, Zach, because I actually wanted to ask you, of the two women, there's one on the left, one on the right, that are having this pillow fight. Which one do you think is the winner?
I'd say whatever one didn't get like fondled by the director had to get. I guess like keep jumping up and down the bed in your panties.
Whichever one has the less severe case of PTSD at this point in their lives.
Exactly.
No, but so I wanted to point this out because since it mesmerized me, I think the one on the right is the clear winner because when she throws the pillows over to the other one, they're actual throws. Like she tosses the pillow. You know, they're on set. Behind that other girl is the other actress who's like, I met a creep at the bar tonight. And the other two girls are like, we don't care, we're having a pillow fight. And so one of them is throwing the pillows, like, you know, very playfully and gently. The one on the left seems to completely lack motor skills. Like she tosses a pillow at like the fucking ground at one point, and it's like, what are you doing? So I think that the one on the right wins because the one on the left was just so like Xanaxed out or something that she could barely, be in the scene.
I think it's just an outtake.
This was just like, they didn't know
the
director was filming. It was it was a nanny cam.
Yeah, pretty much. The actress walked in the door and was like, "What's going on here?"
Yep. Oh yeah.
Well, another thing that's weird about
to me.
Another thing that's weird about this scene too is that like Ted Bundy watches the woman go in the sorority house. He like looks at his watch, then like he waits, and then like we see the pillow fight. Then he looks at the watch again, and it's like, wait, so he was keeping a time schedule?
Yeah, I took that to mean he was trying to watch out for that other girl from the bar coming back because only one of the sorority sisters leaves. But it's like, how the hell would he know when she's coming back?
And then even we see it later in the film that after he's done beating the crap and raping and murdering out of her, like he like goes running down the stairs and like the other sorority sister's like walking up the stairs. And he's like, "Excuse me," and she's like, "Watch where you're going,
asshole." Yeah.
And then she like walks into the house and we get like the shot, the establishing shot again of the house, and it's like,
yeah, all those screams, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and then we have this, unless you have something else to add to that, like after that we have the sequence of he's on the porch with like the really like the definition of a Florida cracker. And like
that's right, because he's staying in that room, he's renting that room, and they talk about the murders, right?
Yeah, and he's like, did you see the report about the two girls that were killed? And he's like, yeah, like you have to admire that sort of ingenuity. And the guy's like, "You sick pervert!" And he like gets up and he walks away.
Yeah, the line's pretty good because Ted Bundy says something like, "You got to admire him though, like it's bold to walk in there, commit a crime, get away with it." And the guy's like, "I should fucking smack you in the face."
Yeah.
Ted Bundy's like, "What?"
Ted Bundy's like, "That guy does not. That is a beta and does not appreciate big dick energy. He does not have that BDE."
That's great. That's great. He recognizes the weaker forms.
Oh, good Lord. But yeah, after that, like Ted Bundy then goes to like elementary school playground, like tells like it's like an 8-year-old girl, like, "I have candy in my van."
That was so bad. That was the whole, that was something that I don't know if Zack, because we had in our younger years, we lived in different states, different parts of the country. But I definitely I remember from my childhood a lot where it's like if somebody you don't know comes up to you and says there's been an accident and you have to come with them, like you run away. You run away as fast as you can. And I feel like I heard that a bunch when I was younger, which was also before this movie came out. So whenever I saw it in this movie, I was kind of like, this is very cliche, but still very, very disgusting.
Yeah. Because even, it's funny, this is kind of the point in the film where we go from like, again, the last like shenanigan like scene we get is the pillow fight. Because after that we have him like encountering the little girl on the playground, and then like we get one of the very few shots that isn't like the camera isn't locked down, where we're going through like a cornfield and we see like all different like pieces of this little girl's clothing, and it's like the camera slowly tracks. It's a hand shot, it seems like, and the camera slowly like tracks, and we like pan up to like a shack in the middle of the cornfield. And it's this part where the movie gets really kind of like just like genuinely disturbing, where it's no longer like tongue in cheek funny, and we see like Ted Bundy like jerking off in his van like after he's murdered this girl, and then like the cops show up.
Yeah, I have a question about that. Was he consciously jacking it, or was he having a wet dream?
Oh,
I could not determine it because there is part where you can see him clearly, like, doing the jerking motions or the body rhythmic motions, and he starts like saying to himself, "Oh, she's dead," but he's mumbling it, and the way his head is kind of tilted over, I'm like, are we seeing? My note, literally word for word, are we seeing Ted Bundy have a wet dream about fucking a corpse? And that's exactly when in watching this movie, I was like, whoa. It's hitting me. All of the darkness from the first part that we've talked to about horror so far up to here just came and kind of caught up to me. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, he can't be playing with himself because the cop car shows up and his pants are up.
Oh, okay.
Then the lady cop shows up and like beats the crap out of him.
Mm-hmm. And that's when he gets caught for the final time, right?
Yes, third and final time.
Execution.
Yeah, this is where the movie gets really weird. Like even as I was watching it, it's like you get like all the footage of the people outside being like.
Yeah, that was something else because they were all like, everybody wants. They showed most of the people they showed were the ones that wanted Ted Bundy to be executed.
Mm-hmm.
And even at one point, one of the signs that someone's holding from what looks like real footage is it says, "This ain't no party. This ain't no disco. This ain't no fooling around. Burn, baby, burn."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's a reference to a Talking Heads song, but it has nothing to do with Ted Bundy. But I'm glad people were excited. Like, I don't know what the movie's trying to tell me.
This ain't no party. This ain't no disco. This ain't no fooling around. This ain't the mud club or CBGB. I ain't got time for that now.
I guess I thought it was edgy. I guess it's kind of like, oh, this is not your typical like footage of like when you think of like, again, nowadays we don't really celebrate, or it's not really like when somebody's executed on death row. I remember one, like the last time I remembered something like that being national news was Timothy McVeigh. I remember that being like a really big thing. Like that was like on national news one morning. Yeah, this is, I guess this was kind of like a relic of its time in that sense, like where people would be outside the prison and it would be celebrated. Like we don't really have, like think about it nowadays, like now capital punishment is so frowned upon no matter how egregious the crime is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We don't really have this sort of culture anymore. Like we'll protest because Trump said a word we don't like, but like a serial killer being put to death is like, that's bad. And it's like, okay, I guess like that's the kind of weird like cultural shifts that we've had since this, or since Ted Bundy's execution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like there's one, like I want to read some of the signs. It says like, what? It's Friday. Ted Fry spelled F-R-Y.
Yep.
We have another one that says, okay, I can't read that one. It says UF says F-U Bundy. It's the other one's like breakfast with Bundy. I don't know, that means he's dead. Another one says, "Hey Ted, this buzz is for you."
Mm-hmm.
Watching it in real time. Then another one says, "Ted, keep on smoking," has a picture of the marijuana leaf.
Oh yeah, I noticed that one. Yeah.
There's another one that says, like, I'll buckle up when Bundy does It's the Law.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I thought about that for a little bit. I'm guessing it means that he's going to buckle up to get in his car, like the protester or fanatic. The fanatic is going to buckle up his seatbelt in his car to go home when they buckle Ted Bundy into the electric chair and he's dead. Okay. That's the only way I could rationalize that. But yeah, when I first read it, I was like, what?
Yeah, there's another sign that says like "Morning Ted, one more judge to face." ... I don't know. It's like, okay.
I mean, he got executed in the morning. I'm guessing that's the breakfast in the morning.
Yeah,
like,
I know, but
like 7 a.m. or something. I'm guessing.
Like not to quote Taylor Swift though, but that sign must have taken all night to make. But you couldn't be a little bit more creative.
Sunshine on the street at the parade, but you would rather be in the dark age, just making that sign. Must have taken all night. You just need to take several seats and then try to restore the peace and control your urges to scream about all the people you hate.
Then another one says, "Roses are red, violets are blue. Good morning, Ted. We're going to kill you." Like that's clever. Like the person who wrote that put a little effort into it.
Yeah, some thought. Yeah,
if you're
probably
gonna,
went through a few takes.
Went through a couple pieces of poster board that night. God damn it! I screwed up the lettering, the word "kill."
Can you come to bed, honey? It's almost 2 a.m. We're going to be on the news, Barbara.
Imagine, I don't know how bored you must be in your life to queue up outside a prison for somebody's execution.
Oh, yeah, I'm totally with you, Zach. Like,
Unless,
how trivial are your problems if that's what you feel you need to spend time on?
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if it's somebody you knew, like, okay, I get it then. But if you have no connection to it whatsoever, it's just like bandwagon 101.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know there's some other scenes in here with establishing stuff like leading up to his execution, but my next note is it says after Ted's head is shaved, he turns into Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
Yes.
And then my following note is, does that look good, Uncle Bob? Was there anything else you wanted to? That's in the Vaseline cotton ball scene. Does that look good, Uncle Bob? So, was there anything you had prior to that?
As I was watching this, I was looking at the runtime, and it's like, okay, we're at like hour and 20 minutes. How is there still 20 minutes of this movie left?
Mm-hmm.
And like the whole execution part, like prepping him like talking to his lawyer, trying to get a pardon from the governor. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, how's this going to go on? And it really does. Like not that it drags. I don't mean that in a way, but like, it's like the momentum, the pacing just like comes down to like a snail's pace. And like we milk, and this is the part of the movie that's kind of like the strangest, really, is that we're making Ted Bundy out to be the victim here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's exactly how it comes off. And like I mentioned earlier, I think I get what they were going for. I think with the drawn out timing of it, you kind of have the inexperience of this guy who's shoving cotton up his asshole. With these like, does that look good, Uncle Bob? More Uncle Bob? And it's like, I think they were going for Ted Bundy finally loses control. Because in every time he would go and kill someone, he had complete control and he would get off on that. And this is the complete switch where he's finally getting his time to feel it. And it's slow and it's painful and it's humiliating. And the people who are doing it to him don't really understand what they're doing to him. They just know what they're doing in their own process. And it's like, wow, if that was done well, that would be a very interesting way to end a serial killer biopic, if the rest of it was also done correctly. But since it isn't, since it's a comedy pretty much up to this point, this just comes off as painfully awkward and confusing.
It's insanely jarring.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole scene, it's the close-up scene where the dude pulls out the tongue depressor. There's the close-up shot of him, like, mixing Vaseline with it, pulling it out, showing it to the other guard and saying, does that look good, Uncle Bob? And the guy says, how long you been practicing this shit? It's fine. And it's like, what?
This okay, Uncle Bob?
God damn it, how long you been practicing that?
Where are we going? Because this comes after, he talks to the priest. This comes after he talks to the journalist to give some of his story, I think. This is the very last moments of his life, and it is just, it's a train wreck.
Like, that's the weird thing is, like, it's a competently shot sequence. It's just does not belong in this movie.
Definitely. Yep.
Like, that's what's so weird, though. It's like, it's probably the one it's probably the only well, okay, because Rob and I are weirdos that finds this stuff like amusing, like in a comical way. But like, it's genuinely the most harrowing sequence in the film where there really isn't an ounce of humor here. And
it's these last two scenes. It's this and the electric chair scene where I definitely was like, wow, this is hitting me like almost reality, Like when he's in the electric chair with the mask on and he's just bleeding from the sides of the mask.
Yeah.
And they have him in the electric chair for like a long fucking time. I was like, whoo, like this is hitting me hard. This is real. And it does not fit with anything else I've laughed at for the first, hour and 25 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. It really is. It's like, and it's weird because like it really makes him out to be the like. I know, like you're saying, though, it's like, oh, like Ted Bundy's finally like it's a complete like a character arc, like he's lost control. Mm-hmm. But like you can't help but sympathize with him in this moment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or like again, like nobody. Obviously, the women didn't deserve anything that happened to them. But at the same time, though, it's like how he's being treated here. It's like you can't not be saying that you sympathize. Again, this is in the context of the Ted Bundy movie, not Ted Bundy, the real person.
Absolutely.
This is Bugs Bunny Ted Bundy.
Yes.
But like again, he's been our protagonist so far. So like seeing him kind of being dealt with this way, such like being manhandled in such a calloused way, where he's basically sodomized with like cotton pads.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh God, it's like. What the hell do you want me to be feeling? And once again, like where the producers watching this being like is pulling their hair out.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, it's really bonkers. And like even getting, like you said, to the actual execution, like the whole fact too, that like they put the thing over his eyes and his mouth, and it's just like the slit for his nose. Like that's spooky ass imagery.
Absolutely. Yep.
That is some genuinely spooky ass imagery and how it's lit. And this is where I wonder, like, was this a set? Or was this like they actually? Because by the late '90s, I would imagine again most capital punishment it diminishes more and more every single year. Yeah. I wonder if they found like an old prison and they just cleaned it up and they just lit it like based on those because it seems too real.
Yeah, it hits you in all those places. So yeah, I don't know.
It's a weird ass sequence. It's so like I don't think we've ever discussed such a jarring like shift in the tone in a Cinemoddities movie before.
Yeah, that's this is definitely up there. This is probably top spot, 100%.
Yeah.
And it kind of almost undoes it for me completely. Like the actual ending of this movie, I thought I was just like, what? Because after he's executed, it cuts to the girlfriend again. And who's talking to her new husband or new fiance or boyfriend or whatever. And it's one of the stupidest lines of dialogue where she's like, I can't believe it. I knew him I was with him for years. And then the guy says something like of no importance. And then she goes, who was Ted Bundy? And I'm like, that's stupid. And then it cuts to weird shots of children.
Okay,
yeah.
Time out. Because the thing about that sequence with the girlfriend, the girlfriend, is that like his relationship with her was like going on like in the like early to mid 70s. They didn't execute Bundy until like what, 89?
Yeah, he was alive for a long time. He was alive long enough in reality to like help the FBI find other serial killers, I read.
Yeah. Like he was. And that's kind of become the thing now with like putting people on death row is that like, okay, they're worth more to us alive than they are dead. Yeah, like that's the thing too. Is that it's weird that like, 15 years later, I should still be thinking about him. But the thing too that I guess is the ultimate ha-ha on this too is the fact that the woman who's the quote executioner who flips the switch is this gorgeous woman with like long like brunette locks.
Yeah, that's a good point.
She takes off her executioner's hood and just shakes it and it all comes down like it's like okay, movie, you made your point.
Yeah.
Women's got their comeuppance of Ted Bundy. Like, we get it. And that's so weird, too, that, like, after this very harrowing, like, death sequence, you have that. It feels so ham-fisted.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, this movie's something else. Like, this movie really, like, this is a one-of-a-kind movie, but getting to, like you were saying, the very, very end with the kids.
Ted Bundy. I'm Ted Bundy. I'm Ted Bundy. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, like at this point, the director finally lost, like the medication finally ran out. Because like, at one point,
I thought it might make more sense if they were saying something like, I could be Ted Bundy. And he was going to try and shoehorn in a message of where it's like, nature versus nurture or something like that. But no, they're all saying I am Ted Bundy, and then they run away. And I'm like, what?
Well,
what am I supposed to gain?
One of the kids has like a dead cat that they're holding up by its tail.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's weird. You have all these kids, and it's shot in a way that we've never seen before. Like it's all this like weird sort of, oh God, like I don't even know where it's even shot. It's like the corner of like.
I'm Ted Bundy. I'm Ted Bundy. I'm Ted Bundy. I'm Ted Bundy.
I don't even know where it's shot. It's weird. We've never seen that type of footage. It's being shot in like 8mm or 16mm film because it's all grainy.
Yeah, it's noticeably different.
Yeah, it's different film stock, and it's just. It's bizarre. I think that's the easiest. Like we've talked about like bizarre in the sense of like, oh, none of this makes sense. Why do we have a rape murder montage with happy music? But then we have that where you have this really harrowing death sequence. We get the ham-fistedness of like the pretty woman executioner, Lee being like, I never knew him. Then all the kids being like, I'm Ted Bundy. No, I'm Ted Bundy. Like that sequence feels more like a Wonder Chosen bit than it does anything else.
Because right after the kids is that's our informational follow-up that you expect from any biopic like this. And it even harps on the fact where it's like the hundreds of women sent him letters before he died saying they loved him. And it's like, oh, what? You might as well just say it's like, we didn't tell you everything about Ted Bundy.
Well, yeah, because then even like we get the shot and it's the same picture of him doing like the running leap with his two thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why are you using a happy picture of him? Why don't you use a picture of him like I don't know, the last like picture of him ever taken? Be like, this was the last picture of Ted Bundy ever taken. And it's like, and you have like and maybe at the end of the film, instead of having all the kids say, I'm Ted Bundy, why don't you have like a bunch of like gorgeous women be like, I love you, Ted Bundy. I love you, Ted Bundy. And have that. Like, I don't know. Like, I know we say that a lot. I don't say it a lot on Cinemoddities. I say it on the Star Wars podcast. But I'm like, how did they not figure this out? Like, it's a
Yeah.
Ted Bundy biopic. Like, yes, by 2002, like, the true crime genre isn't anything where it is now. But, like, there were templates for this sort of entertainment.
Absolutely. And this just breaks through all of it.
Yeah, it's just, like, the movie ends very creepily.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's a very creepy ending.
Yep, and it's the whiplash continues for me because when the ending credits started to play,
It's happy music again, right?
It was very happy music, but more so than just happy music, it was edited in a very certain style that is something that I think an artist I know called Handsome Boy Technique would do. And he is just one random person from Japan who just makes music, and he's a very obscure artist. And I hear this music, and I'm like, well, I don't even know what to expect. Like, I watched all the credits expecting there to be like another 30 minutes after the credits about Ted Bundy, you know, that was like it was like the hidden track of the Ted Bundy movie or something like that. So yeah, this movie just was an emotional roller coaster for me from start to finish, all the way to the very end.
Yeah, this was, like I said, folks, 3 hours later.
Oh yeah.
This was something else.
More Uncle Bob? More discussion about Ted Bundy?
Oh my god! I guess this is the part now that like I have to mention with Freeway. Okay, folks, I don't think I talked about Freeway that much.
You mentioned it a little bit at the start that's what you thought he made him more competent, or your knowledge of him is competent.
Yeah, because what happened, folks, was when I first saw when I got to the point in the commentary where he's like naming off like all of his sexual encounters from like middle school, I'm like, can't watch this anymore. So I looked up other films that he'd done, and one of them was Freeway. And from like a year ago, I had made a note of it on my IMDb watch list. And I'm like, okay, clearly this blipped on my radar. So I tracked down a copy of it, and I'm watching it. And it's a genuinely good movie. It's competently made, has great performances from everybody involved. Yet the thing about those, like as I was watching it, the question I kept asking myself was, why would I hire this guy to direct my Ted Bundy movie after watching this?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he did direct, like I think, what was it? Freeway 2: Confessions of a
Trick Baby.
Trick Baby.
I almost said Trap Baby.
Well, 6 and 1/2 dozen the other.
I don't know. I don't know if that can be a thing. That might be an oxymoron.
But I asked myself that question while I was watching it, and I'm like, maybe because it's the idea of like having someone who like grew up in a horrible like family, like a horrible like domestic situation. They grow up to do like horrible things,
mm-hmm.
But at the same time, though, like you can like empathize with their like why they make bad decisions.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, maybe that's the why they did it, though. But there's a lot of like black humor and tongue-in-cheek humor.
Okay.
Like, weird as it sounds, Reese Witherspoon's character follows except for the ending, follows a very similar trajectory as Ted Bundy does in the Ted Bundy movie.
Okay.
And I can see why, like, the weird thing about it is, like, you can definitely see, like, a correlation or at least some connective tissue in the sense of, like, a filmmaker. But I would say that, like, Freeway is an infinitely better, well-made film than Ted Bundy.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not, and that's weird for, like a director's, like, first or second film to be infinitely better than, like, their fourth or fifth.
Yeah. Oh, all right. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it really is, folks. Like, Freeway is, like, don't get me wrong, it's a strange movie. But, like, it's strange and, like, it's funny. It's a movie that could be made today. Like, it's one of those movies, like I was telling Rob before. It's like, I'm surprised we don't talk about it because it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of, like, themes that would be applicable for today's, what the media deems appropriate for today.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see that though. And I don't, again, Matthew Bright's done a handful of things. Hasn't really, I don't think he's worked in a while. Like I was telling Rob too, that he did have a interview he did for Freeway 2 Confessions of a Trick Baby, but unfortunately you have to like spend like $30 on a DVD you can like have to buy on a site that's infested with viruses. So until Rob and I are brave enough to like throw $30 out the window and hope for the best.
I feel like we're setting Cinemoddities up to not be able to, the podcast, to not be able to successfully sell merchandise, because if someone's like, if we put an ad out there and like, you can get a Cinemoddities mug or a Cinemoddities t-shirt, they'd be like, no, I want this DVD you're talking about. Like, I don't want this junk with your logo. The things that you want to buy are just as cool.
In the end credits, there's a thing that says visit the website www.tedbundythemovie.com. When you type it into Google, nothing comes up. It's like this page cannot be reached. Okay. But I'm trying the Wayback Machine, and I'm getting a couple of things like don't miss Ted Bundy. Check below for theatrical screening dates and locations. This site is currently under construction. Bookmark it to come back. And it says screening schedule. They filmed this. They screened it at film festivals. Ooh. At the Fantasy Film Festival, the Edinburgh International Film Festival, Fantasy Film Festival, American Cinematheque, London Fright Fest closing night film, and New York City Cinema Village.
Oh, man.
Apparently, they're going to also auction off Ted's 1970 Volkswagen used in the film.
Ooh, interesting.
Call now at 310-248-2762 to place your bid.
It's a phone bid. Uh-oh.
What would happen if it's Matthew Bright's personal phone number? Hello?
Did you see one of my movies? Please tell me you saw one of my movies.
Is this what love feels like?
There you go. Oh, man.
I have so many questions.
Who was Ted Bundy?
What do you mean I have to enable Adobe Flash? What year are we living in? Oh my God, it's animated.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That I hope it's for that website.
Oh my God, it's even better. Oh my God. Okay, from the director of Freeway, Matthew Bright, the Boogie Nights of serial killer flicks.
Oh God,
that was a lot. Overseas Films Group, the Tartan Video. Oh my God! It has a bunch of like, I guess, all different production companies. National Museum, what? Now showing it. So I guess it didn't get any. Obviously, didn't get any sort of wide release. TartanVideo.com. Okay, I gotta look into that next. Get so many viruses on my computer. How'd you get a virus? I'd look up Ted Bundy stuff from a movie that nobody remembers. I wonder who gave this a review, calling this the Boogie Nights of serial killer flicks. Ain't it cool news? Oh man, could you imagine if it was like Harry Knowles?
This is the rabbit hole.
Oh, I found it.
Okay.
It's not credited to anyone specifically. God damn it, it's Harry Knowles. It is Harry Knowles.
Oh my God, really?
Yep. Hey folks, Harry here with the latest Serial Killing is Cool film to sweep the minds of depraved. Oh my God. To sweep the minds of the depraved for all time. Good Lord, the syntax there was horrible. The Boogie Nights of serial killer flicks apparently comes from Matthew Bright, the man behind Freeway and Confessions of a Trick Baby. Two of his fairy tales gone awry films. Matthew has a penchant for celebrating depraved, relishing in wrong, showing how natural it is to those with no scruples, how it isn't a big leap to go from talking about it to just doing it. It's what I like to call naughty films. They're the type that you sit there with your mouth aghast, suspended in a disbelieving smile going, oh my God, this is so wrong. Not yes, and on throughout the film. You tend to elbow your fellow filmgoer with a look of incredulity. I can't say it. Too late. Incredulity. That's a Matthew Bright flick, and this certainly sounds like one. Here you go. Clancy Gardner. Matthew Bright's previous film was Freeway, a movie which I didn't catch, but one that tends to polarize people into love it or hate it camps. With Bundy, I think people will either hail the film a Scorsese-level masterpiece or accuse Matthew Bright of being the next Antichrist. It's that audacious a piece of filmmaking. blowing the previous Mark Harmon TV movie to smithereens. Personally, I think the film's an edit, literally one edit away from being a modern masterpiece. It's the movie American Psycho wanted to be. A balls-out, no punches pulled examination of a sick and twisted soul. What makes the film so horrifying is the intimacy Matthew establishes between the audience and his protagonists. The story is told from the point of view of Ted, a legend in his own mind, and the filmmaker thrusts us into his deranged world so successfully you practically feel like an accomplice to his crimes. It also has a tone that shifts wildly from pitch black comedy to sheer undiluted horror. Picture Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, directed by the mutant love child of Scorsese and David Lynch, and you'll get an idea of how intense this film is. It's the Boogie Nights of serial killer flicks, tracing in lurid detail Ted's progression from masturbating peeping Tom to one of the most notorious mass murderers in history. Some will no doubt feel this film glorifies Ted Bundy, but those are the same people who believe movies compel people to commit violence. This film merely presents Ted with all his human contradictions intact. He wasn't your stereotypical madman. He was charming, attractive, intelligent, as well as sadistic, and so is this film. The centerpiece of this film is Michael Riley Burke's chilling portrayal of the superstar serial killer. How good is he? We're talking De Niro as Travis Bickle good. Hopkins is Hannibal good. He becomes Ted Bundy in all his horrifying and devilish charisma, and that's a good thing too because he's in virtually every scene. For an actor whose greatest highlights so far include Beverly Hills 90210 and Octopus 2, this awesome performance should put him on the map like a megaton bomb. In narrator's voice, no, it didn't. Other than Guy Pearce's manic turn in Memento, I haven't seen a better performance all year. In fact, I have not seen this good a performance from a virtual unknown since God knows when. The rest of the cast is mostly unknown as well, and they all do stellar work. Bodie Ann Bliss is particularly excellent in the thankless role of Ted's long-suffering girlfriend, a composite of several of his real-life lovers.
Wow.
The soundtrack... it keeps going. The soundtrack to the movie is killer. Sorry for the pun. With Pete Townshend's Behind Blue Eyes setting the tone early on. The song seems made for this movie. As I mentioned before, I think this movie is one edit away from being a masterpiece, which brings me to the one reservation I have about the film, the extended coda. It seems Matthew Bright is suffering from an acute case of PSSS, post-Schindler Spielberg syndrome, an inability to know when to end his movie great. Inability to know when to end his great movie. Okay. After Ted's execution, was that a spoiler? He cuts to a pretty bad scene where Ted's ex-girlfriend exclaims, "Who was that guy? Who was Ted Bundy?" Which segues into a really offensive sequence of young kids saying directly to the camera, "I'm Ted Bundy." This apparently is supposed to be a spoof of Spike Lee's I'm Malcolm X ending of the same movie, another case of PSSS, but it's just way too glib. The movie already skates on the razor's edge of offensiveness all throughout, and I think this will tip the scales for most people. The preceding execution of Ted is what gave the whole affair some levity, some sense of payoff for the audience, but the filmmaker's smug posturing kills it. All Matthew needs to do is hold on the shot of Ted Bundy dead in the electric chair and fade out. Voila, instant masterpiece. Are you listening, Matt? Please do this and you will go down in the books as one of the greats. Anyway, enough of my rambling. Hope that Hack Valenti does get his mitts on this one so that someone has the balls to distribute this brilliant piece of work as an NC-17 so you can see it for yourself. Wow. Oh my God, this was rated R, which means that there's an even worse cut out there.
Oh, we gotta find it.
All right, Rob, how much grant money do we need to find the NC unrated cut of Ted Bundy?
I think doing that wouldn't cost money. It would cost something much greater.
Sexual favors?
We would have to go on an adventure for our lives. Yeah, sexual favors would definitely be in there.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out the exact moment when the Ted Bundy site got shut off.
We're tracing it to the nanosecond.
Yeah,
maybe this is like I had to go back in time to write Wonder Shows, and maybe you had to go back in time to do whatever you're doing over here, Zack.
To stop this. I went back in time to stop this from ever existing. Yeah, then like it changed again to like it's a general like routing page.
Okay.
Yeah, like really weird. Like I think about like when those generic things being like, oh, download movies, movie rentals, digital cameras, like kind of.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
All right, Rob. Anything else about this movie, or can we delve into our questions?
No, I think we're ready for the questions, and I think that the only other thing I'd want to say about this movie is to summarize kind of the thoughts on it. Is I want to start with late night. My late night response actually comes twofold. First, I want to say yes, but I cannot stress you need to know your audience so hardcore. Like, I was thinking about it. We can't approach somebody and be like, oh, what do you want to watch tonight? What do you got? Oh, I got a Ted Bundy movie. It's about the serial killer. It's hilarious. You're rolling the dice if you pitch that, because who knows? Maybe you show this to someone and they don't think it's as funny because they can't separate that art from the artist, as we said before. So I'm going to say yes, but you need to really know your audience. Like, you have to have like a Rob or Zack with you and who's just as messed up as you are and find the funny in this movie. Not in the events, in the actual movie.
Yes.
I do want to throw it back, though. That was one branch of it. I have to say, for late night movie, ignore all that if you are playing by the OG late night movie rules. And if you remember at the start of this podcast over a year ago, it was very much framed more by me as if you have someone in your clutches, if you can force someone to watch a movie, if you can, get them to sit down and you make them watch this, absolutely play this if you want it to get weird. Like if you are a serial killer, this might be the late night movie.
Yeah, this is a
this will change the motif of your evening no matter what.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the darker. Who knows?
I think about those. Like, I don't think it's as well. Again, Rob interacts with more people than I do. Is that I think you could like. I think most people know who Ted Bundy is, especially we live in the true crime era.
Yeah.
I think you could put this on with, again, like I don't think this is like a late night movie for just anybody in the sense of like, oh, we're going to watch a movie. I think if you know someone who likes that sort of thing, just like it has even a vague interest in true crime,
sure,
and just be like, there's this Ted Bundy movie out there. It's comical at times, and yeah, it's very jarring at other times, and it's weird. I think you can just describe it that way because there is a lot of humor in that. It's not like, oh, it pivots back and forth between like disturbing comedy. Mm-hmm. It's pretty comedic for the first like half, if not 2/3.
Oh, definitely.
And it's not really like by the time you start getting some of the more disturbing behavior, the comedy has been there in full force. Yeah. So it looks more like you're less of a weirdo and more of like, oh, what the hell is the filmmaker doing?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Now, I think, again, I wouldn't just show, if you have somebody who's like very squeamish and doesn't like anything horror related or anything like that, then no, I don't think this is not their cup of tea. And even if it is, like Rob always said, it's somebody in your clutches. Oh. I think as long
as their eyes pried open.
Yes. You're doing a Ludovico technique to them.
Yes.
I do think if you have anybody who's even slightly on board with you as a person, and I think, this is not a entry-level Cinemodity. I mean late night movie. But no, I think you could show this to most people. If you're comfortable enough to associate with them, like on a personal level where you can show them movies, I think as long as you frame this as like, oh, it's this Ted Bundy movie that's just, it's comical. It's a funny Ted Bundy movie, but not like in your typical like, oh, like it's so bad because it has bad production value. It's just the director is most likely a pervert and sicko that didn't know how to make a movie properly.
Yeah, right on. That's a good point you bring up. I definitely think, that the people that I know that are also fans of like Law and Order, SVU or not, they could get on board with this because, like you said, with that true crime or just crime aspect, in general, this fits the bill as being something unique and both highly comedic yet incredibly dark. And it covers all the ground in between.
Yeah. I don't think as a late night movie, this is much of a reach. It's just a matter. It's not like something really like, again, go back to one of my favorites, something like, oh God, Vox Lux, or think back to like the Pure Cinemoddities series, like Under the Skin or Annihilation. Where it's more like, okay, someone can get bored. Like, I don't think you could show this to anybody and they get bored. I think there's enough of a morbid curiosity to this where it'd be like, okay, he's jerking off outside the girl's house and some guy like dumps a pail of water on him. Like that, for the most people, will get people hooked.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
I also want to mention that when you said annihilation, I heard the sound in my head finally. So it's finally happened. I am perfectly tied the two together.
All right, Rob. I would imagine Cinemoddity without saying so, right?
I kind of spoiled it way at the beginning. It's a Cinemoddity. It's a definite Cinemoddity for all of the reasons we've discussed in this episode when we broke down the movie. But like I said at the start, just the transition, the roller coaster effect of building up to something incredibly comedic and goofy and then bringing in that real world darkness. That's a ride. That's a ride that I don't feel I get to go on in a lot of movies these days, and it's always refreshing to encounter it, even if, like we said, the source material is from a negative place. So yeah, definite Cinemoddity for me.
All right.
It's an experience, this movie.
Oh, you don't say after 3 hours of conversation. I'm so glad there ever was going to be an episode that was going to dethrone the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom episodes being our longest. I am delighted that's the Ted Bundy movie.
Yes.
Absolutely delighted.
We might have to, maybe for our 2-year, if I remember, I'll do like what are our top 5 longest episodes, and I love that it's, this, Jurassic World, Terminator 3.
Yeah, it's kind of fast.
Yeah.
Well, technically, Chappelle will always win because that's like a 7-hour-long recording.
Yeah, I guess we have to go by what we released, right?
Yeah, more or less. But no, Cinemoddity, obviously, without saying so. But I think this deserves a special spot in the Cinemoddities canon because it did play a role. It was a building block because I do think without this that you don't get this podcast. Because again, that spring, summer of 2010 was you get your, even though we did have things like Freak and I really wasn't on board with that initially, you get Eraserhead.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's After Last Season. Then there, I don't know. I'm not sure if After Last Season might have came before Eraserhead now that I think about it.
That I don't recall, but I think you were mentioning it earlier on in this episode where this movie, as well as a lot of the movies that we encountered, maybe not always watched completely together, but we both knew about, both were exposed to and shared with each other. A lot of those movies that weren't in the theaters truly did help create this podcast. And, if you remember back to the Avengers Endgame experiment series, we did only movies we saw in theaters together. But there's definitely a bigger side of the coin in the movies we saw not in theaters, I would say. They're both very important to the creation of this podcast, but you're absolutely right. If only we had movie stubs for all of the crazy nonsense we watched not in theaters, we'd have a whole nother episode about the other half of the background.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. Because that was kind of it's funny. We don't talk yes, there is things like Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 and American Psycho. They're a part of it. Mm-hmm. They're part of the Cinemoddities building blocks. But this was really one of those ones again, think about the original theme song was going to be the Ted Bundy song.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of which, there's one factoid I forgot to mention about this.
Okay.
About the Ted Bundy song that the director said in the commentary was that at the beginning of the montage, he refers to the Ted Bundy song as Triumphant Ted's Romp.
Perfect.
The director's not a pervert at all, though, folks.
Oh, that's insane.
It really is. Remember, Rob, and there's still 40 plus minutes of that commentary that has not been heard yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to that for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can. I'm pretty sure I'll explode.
Yeah, you got to give it you got to give yourself some detox time. You don't want to OD.
You need to watch Death Wish a few more times. Watch Freeway 2: Confessions of a Trick Baby a few more times.
Oh God.
Well, I have to say, every once in a while, it doesn't happen often, but Rob and I will watch something in preparation for something else, whether it be hardware for Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau, and then
Paycheck for Justice League.
Well, yeah, things like that. We're it'd be okay, or Gigli technically, and it'd be like, okay, it's weird that like even though like the Cinemoddities there, it kind of circles around, brings us back, it like introduces us to a whole new Cinemoddity because that's what I would imagine sooner or later we'll talk about Freeway because Freeway is really interesting as a movie.
Yeah, right on.
I can't say that about Trick Baby because I didn't get that far, but fingers crossed.
I just love the title, Confessions of a Trick Baby.
What other sequels, Rob, to movies can we have that too?
Ted Bundy Jr. Confessions of a Trick Baby. Because he's going to be a bastard just like Ted Bundy was. Oh, it's perfect. It writes itself.
Full circle. Oh, dear Lord. All right, Rob, snacks.
Snacks. Okay. I have some quick ones, thankfully. One of them is very quick. One of them is just a regular old, I don't think we've discussed it for the restaurant, so let's get it in there. It comes from our opening dance club scene. Dance floor in the Cinemoddities restaurant. Did we ever talk about that? Do we have a dance floor in front of the Vox Lux animatronic?
I think at one point there was an argument about having we could move the Vox Lux animatronic. I wasn't entirely sure.
Okay, so if we have space for it. I was about to say something dumb there, but we have to find a spot for it. We have to find a home for the dance floor of the Cinemoddities restaurant. And I'm not taking anything off the table. If it turns out that the best place for a dance floor in the restaurant is, I don't know, in the Terminator Salvation laser tag area, fine, as long as we get it in. That's all I'm saying. So that's for marketing. The next one I have is, of course, Ted Bundy's chicken wings. So this is my thought. It's just regular old chicken wings. I'm thinking 12. I want it to be like a good size of chicken wings. I think that's like considered a double order. I don't know. I haven't ordered chicken wings in a while at a restaurant. But I'm guessing you get 12. And when you order it and you get the food, the wait staff keeps a close eye on you. Whatever wait staff is assigned to your table keeps a close eye on you. Because when you finish 6 out of those 12 chicken wings, the waiter's going to sneak up on your table, say, "Oh, hell, not you again," and dump cold water on their heads. So I did not want to, let the customers cannot masturbate in the restaurant. That is strictly forbidden. Employees, they can do whatever the fuck they want. They can fuck each other. They can fuck themselves. Who cares? The customers,
jizzle,
pants on 100% of the time.
And code of conduct.
Yes, this is part of the terms of service they have to sign at the beginning. And so I figured, well, how do we keep them from masturbating and even add another layer to it? So, just throwing that out there, that at Ted Bundy's chicken wings, you're going to get a bucket of cold water dumped on your head because, oh, hell, not you again.
It's great.
And then the last one, I think Zack is going to love. It's not a snack. It actually involves walk-around characters. I tried to make a deal with Zack once because if you are a Cinemoddities restaurant fanatic, if you know everything about the Cinemoddities restaurant, if you're keeping your own spreadsheet, send it to me. That'd be really cool. But if you are keeping track, there is still no set answer on whether Zack and I can agree on the Nelson De La Rosa walk-around character.
Oh, God.
I pitched Zack on the Lost Soul episode. We argued about it, couldn't reach a decision. I think a few episodes later, I pitched Zack an idea that said, if we do X that I want, we'll get Nelson De La Rosa, and Zack said no. So I'm about to make my second pitch. And I think it's an important pitch because it was missing something that not only the last pitch was missing, but it's missing something that our restaurant has been missing. Well, I guess really the only time it's manifested itself in our restaurant is between us, Zack, and it's the concept of checks and balances.
Oh, Jesus.
We check and balance each other, but I think everything else in the restaurants, very few things level each other out. It's just craziness on craziness. So I figured the best way to pitch this to you, I would say, Zack, we get the Peeping Tom Ted Bundy walk-around character who will hide in places of the restaurant and masturbate from the shadows. But here's the checks and balances.
Okay.
We make sure that the Nelson De La Rosa character punches that walk-around character in the dick whenever he sees him masturbating in the shadows. So it's like the Nelson De La Rosa character, we get everything you wanted from him. I get everything I want from the Ted Bundy Peeping Tom character because it's going to make people uncomfortable at the restaurant, and that's our goal. But they're going to be on patrol for each other to kind of cancel the other one out. What do you think?
I do like that.
Okay. So is that a full-hearted yes? Or
I
do you
would
need
say
time to think about it? Is
that
this going
I
to
do
be
like
indeterminate till 2 years?
I like that. I do like that. I'm still gonna reserve my answer.
Okay. But think about it. Think about those checks and balances. These two walk-around characters can give an atmosphere to the restaurant, yet provide necessary balance. Like, wouldn't you love to go to a restaurant with your family, and then at the end of the night, you get to high five or low five the Nelson De La Rosa walk-around character because he beat up a peeping Tom at your table? Like, that'd be great. I'd want a picture with him while he's punching me in the nuts.
And the future serial killer.
And I would pay $30 for it on the way out.
There you go.
That comes after the bump of cocaine and the inhibitions are down.
There you go, folks. Rob's figured it all out.
Those are my 3 snacks, Zach. So as you think about that walk-around character trade-off in the next few weeks, what did you have from this one? And did I steal any of them?
No. How could you steal them from me, Rob?
Okay. The chicken wings I thought we might have both latched on to.
No. First, I want Ted Bundy's little mini crowbar. Forget the VW Beetle. I don't want that. I want the little mini crowbar.
Okay, cool.
And I'm trying to think what else for a snack. I'm trying to think for a food item. Like, this is a really hard movie for food. Like,
I know, that's why I was saying I thought I stole the chicken wings from you because that's like the only food we get.
Maybe for a Cinemoddities like activity, we have like a pinata and you whack it with like a plastic like mini crowbar. And while you're doing that,
if people are signing liability waivers, go all out.
Well, it depends. And while you're playing the pinata, we have the music playing. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-da, ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba. And bonus points if the kid asks if you're from around here.
You ever been in one of those restaurants where it's like you'll be out in the dining area and it'll be fine, like you'll hear the murmur of the crowd, you'll hear some music in the background, maybe you can pick out what music it is, but it's very restaurant atmosphere. And then as soon as you go into the bathroom, the music is blaring. Have you ever been in a scenario like that?
Oh,
Zach?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about the music in the bathroom in the restaurant is different, and the music in the bathroom is just the Ted Bundy, the triumphant Ted romp on repeat.
Maybe.
And then
I'm not sure.
you have a group of people. One of them, you have a group of people at a restaurant. Maybe a bunch of friends. They're chilling out. They're eating. One of them has to go to the bathroom. The first one that goes to the bathroom maybe asks the waiter, where is it? They get pointed in the right direction. They go in. They experience this event, like blasting the Ted Bundy song while they're, peeing and washing their hands or whatever. And then they come back out. Someone else has to go to the bathroom. And they're like, where was it? How was it? And the first guy's like, I don't know why, but I feel I need to rape and murder. And it's kind of like, this infectious bug. Like, if we play this music long enough, it's eventually going to turn people into Ted Bundy and Matthew Bright.
Maybe. But every single time somebody comes out of the bathroom saying that, there's a little disclaimer that says we don't encourage this.
Okay. Instead of like the employees must wash hands sign,
yes.
It says, do not, we highly recommend you do not murder.
What you do in your own free time is your problem.
No liability.
Exactly. That's what it says in the Cinemoddities t-shirt. It says Cinemoddities, and it says no liabilities.
Exactly. Have I ever told you about the phrase, Zach, let's not turn this rape into a murder? Have you ever discussed
No. No. It seems wildly applicable, though.
Exactly. That's why I'm thinking of it, and where it's like, you could be leaving of the bathroom and it'd be like, don't turn that rape into a murder. And be like, that's good news. You shouldn't kill, or good advice. You shouldn't kill people. And halfway on the way out, you're like, wait, hold up.
Oddly applicable.
Yes, absolutely. That came from, I have a picture somewhere on my computer saved where it's like a detention slip. I don't know, of course, it's an internet picture. I don't know if it's real or fake, but the detention slip is like, this student has detention after school on these days. And then the reason why is, student screamed, let's not turn this rape into a murder, as he threw a desk at another student. And I just thought that was so damn funny.
Of course you did, Rob. Of course you did.
Oh, so yeah. Let's not turn this podcast into a murder, Zach.
Too late. All right,
Did you
Rob,
have any other snacks?
Nah. This is a hard movie for snacks without delving into the macabre.
Definitely. So I guess I have to ask, Mr. Keeper of Monstober, is there any insights you want to give to what we're doing next week, or is it completely up in the air as usual?
At the rate we're going, at the rate I'm going, it's going to be between two things. I hope I have a set order, but keep it ambiguous for now. Let's just say it might involve hotels or chainsaws. One or the other.
Okay. Sounds good. And I guess to end this episode, I think that we absolutely need to do some good old triumphant Teddy Romp in reverse, right?
That's gonna be fascinating to see how that sounds in reverse. But do we do the version from the film or just the sheer song?
Ooh, I think I want to do the one from the film to get that audio in there too.
Because
everybody's gonna know now what they're saying in that audio.
Hopefully, we played it a million times.
Ah!